Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto was the animal god, ranger, the king of the will. D-Force Zords Naruto x Princess Shayla Power Rangers Wild Force. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Animal's Call. Silent mist curled through ancient stone columns, wreathing the Uzumaki clan ruins in ghostly white. Naruto crouched atop a moss-covered pillar, high, crimson sage cloak billowing gently in the pre-dawn breeze. 3 years had passed since the Fourth Shinobi War, and the 19-year-old Jonin had grown into his powers with the same quiet determination that had defined his journey from outcast to hero. "You feel it too, don't you, Kurama?" he whispered, golden slitted eyes scanning the horizon. The Nine-Tails voice rumbled through his consciousness. "This chakra, it's not from our world. Be cautious, Naruto." For weeks, villagers near the eastern shore had reported strange animal behavior, birds flying in impossible formations, wolves howling in perfect harmony. Even docile creatures displaying uncanny coordination. When Tsunade mentioned ancient Uzumaki texts referencing similar phenomena preceding dimensional disturbances, Naruto had volunteered to investigate alone. He extended his senses through sage mode, feeling the natural energy pulse and eddy around a central point within the ruins. Unlike the chaotic flow of battle or the harmonious blend of nature, this energy twisted in impossible patterns, folding back upon itself like nothing he had encountered before. A sharp crack echoed through the stillness as space itself seemed to fracture. 30 feet ahead, the air split open like torn fabric, revealing swirling golden light that pulsed in rhythm with Naruto's heartbeat. His eyes narrowed. Whatever this phenomenon was, it recognized him. "I don't like this," he murmured, forming a shadow clone with a quick hand sign. The duplicate nodded silently before approaching the rift while Naruto maintained his position, ready to gather intelligence without unnecessary risk. The clone extended one hand toward the golden light. The moment contact was made, it dissolved not in the usual puff of smoke, but in motes of golden energy that were drawn into the rift. Simultaneously, Naruto received the clone's final sensations, an overwhelming surge of natural energy, impossibly pure, calling to his sage abilities with primal urgency. "Naruto, something's happening to your chakra," Kurama warned as golden patterns began materializing across Naruto's skin, resembling ancient script rather than his usual sage markings. Before he could respond, the rift expanded explosively. Naruto leapt backward, hands already forming seals, but tendrils of golden light shot forward with impossible speed, wrapping around his limbs and torso. Despite his resistance, he felt himself being pulled inexorably forward. "Kurama," he shouted, drawing on the Nine-Tails chakra. Orange energy blazed around him, pushing back against the golden tendrils. But instead of breaking their hold, the two energies began to intertwine, resonating and amplifying each other. With a final surge, the rift pulled him forward into blinding light. Naruto experienced a sensation of falling through endless golden space before reality reasserted itself with jarring suddenness. He landed in a three-point crouch on soft grass, instantly cataloging his surroundings. A vast meadow stretched before him, bordered by ancient forests under a crystal blue sky. The air carried unfamiliar scents, flowers he couldn't identify, trees that didn't exist in his world. Most significantly, the natural energy here flowed differently, wilder and more primal, yet perfectly balanced in ways that even Mount Myoboku had never achieved. A woman's scream shattered his assessment. 50 yards ahead, 5 people in colored uniforms battled a grotesque creature resembling a twisted fusion of plant and animal parts. The monster stood 8 feet tall, with bark-like skin, bulbous yellow eyes, and vine-like tentacles that whipped through the air with lethal precision. Behind the combatants, a young woman in a flowing white dress lay on the ground, a bloody gash across her shoulder. The fighters wore helmets that concealed their faces, each uniform a different color: red, blue, black, white, and yellow. They wielded weapons that channeled energy unlike any chakra Naruto had encountered. Yet their movements betrayed training similar to shinobi combat styles. "Taylor, watch your flank," the one in red shouted as the yellow-clad fighter narrowly avoided a tentacle strike. "I see it." The yellow fighter, a woman, judging by her voice, executed a perfect aerial flip that would have impressed even Guy-sensei, slashing at the monster with twin golden daggers that sparked with energy. The creature roared, revealing rows of thorny teeth. The Animarium will fall today. Master Org has found new allies beyond your comprehension, Rangers. Naruto assessed the situation instantly. The fighters, Rangers, apparently, were skilled but tiring. The injured woman appeared to be someone of importance they were protecting. The monster possessed strength and regenerative abilities that their weapons were struggling to overcome permanently. Decision made, he moved. To the combatants, Naruto simply vanished from the spot where the golden light had deposited him, reappearing directly between the injured woman and the battle. None had even registered his arrival until that moment. What the black-clad ranger began, before Naruto spoke. I'll protect her. Focus on your enemy. His voice carried calm authority as he created 4 shadow clones without hand signs, positioning them in defensive formation around the injured woman. Who are you? The woman gasped. Her eyes, a striking shade of green that reminded him of spring leaves in Konoha, widening as she took in his appearance. Someone who can help, Naruto replied simply, kneeling to examine her wound. This isn't deep, but there's some kind of toxin. He could sense foreign energy spreading from the injury, disrupting her natural energy flow. Her hand grasped his wrist with surprising strength. The markings on your skin, they're Animarian script. Her voice held shock and something like reverence. How is that possible? Naruto glanced down, noticing that the gold N patterns from earlier still covered his forearms, visible where his sleeves were rolled up. He had no time to ponder this as the battle behind them intensified. Look out! The Red Ranger shouted, as the creature launched several tentacles directly toward Naruto and the woman. Without turning, Naruto raised one hand. Golden energy mixed with his typical wind nature chakra formed an invisible bee barrier that severed the tentacles midair. The creature howled in pain and rage. What power is this? It snarled, focusing all attention on Naruto. You smell of another world, human. Naruto stood slowly, facing the monster as natural energy surged through his body more potently than ever before. The golden markings brightened across his skin, and he felt the sage mode activate without the usual meditation. Rangers, he called. This thing's core is in its chest, not its head. Your attacks aren't reaching it. How could you possibly know that? The Blue Ranger demanded. I can see energy flows, Naruto replied simply. If you can create an opening, I can hit the core directly. The Yellow Ranger stepped forward. We don't know who you are, but Princess Shayla seems to trust you. I'm Taylor. That's Cole, Max, Danny, and Alyssa. She indicated each colored ranger in turn. We're the Wild Force Power Rangers. That's a toxic org we're fighting. Naruto Uzumaki, he introduced himself with characteristic brevity during battle. I have experience with toxic enemies. Taylor nodded sharply. Rangers, Formation Delta. Give him his shot. The 5 rangers moved with practiced coordination, driving the monster back with synchronized attacks that forced it to defend multiple angles simultaneously. Naruto observed their teamwork with approval. They fought well together, covering each other's weaknesses instinctively. When they created a momentary opening, Naruto flashed forward with speed that left afterimages. His right hand held a spiraling sphere of energy, not his typical Rasengan, but something new. The familiar blue core was surrounded by swirling golden energy that resembled animal shapes in constant motion. Sage Art. Wild Rasengan. The name came to him instinctively as he drove the technique directly into the monster's chest. Unlike his normal Rasengan's grinding destruction, this attack seemed to pierce dimensions, bypassing the creature's outer defense. To strike directly at its core essence. The toxic org froze, golden light erupting from within its body. Impossible, it shrieked. You cannot exist here. The prophecy was just a myth. With a final howl, the creature exploded in a shower of purple and gold energy, leaving nothing but scorched earth behind. Naruto stood alone in the blast radius, completely untouched by the explosion. He turned to find the rangers staring at him, their postures conveying shock even through their helmets. What are you? Cole, the Red Ranger, asked. Before Naruto could respond, Princess Shayla's voice rang out from behind them. He is the animal god. All heads turned toward her. She had risen to her feet despite her injury, her expression a mixture of awe and disbelief. The ancient texts spoke of one who would come in our greatest hour of need, she continued, approaching Naruto with measured steps. One who could speak with all wild Zords, not just a chosen few. One whose spirit bridges the gap between animal and human. The animal god ranger. Naruto met her gaze steadily. I'm not from your world, princess. I'm a shinobi from the Hidden Leaf Village. I was investigating a dimensional disturbance when I was pulled through some kind of portal. Princess Shayla reached out hesitantly, her fingers hovering above the golden markings on his arm. These are ancient Animarian symbols. They spell out harmony and wild spirit in our oldest language. No one has been able to manifest these marks for 3,000 years. She looked up at him with wonder. The moment you arrived, every wild Zord on the Animarium responded. Didn't you hear them? Now that the immediate danger had passed, Naruto became aware of distant calls, roars, howls, screeches, and trumpeting sounds. That somehow formed a coherent chorus in his mind. Unlike the chaotic voices of summoned animals or the focused communication with his toads, these voices carried ancient wisdom and recognition. I hear them now, he acknowledged, his expression thoughtful. There, welcoming me. The rangers had demorphed, revealing 5 young adults close to his own age. Taylor, the yellow ranger, studied him with sharp, analytical eyes. She was athletic with short blonde hair and a confident stance that reminded him of Tamari. Princess, with all due respect, she said, we can't just accept someone who falls out of the sky. Even if the wild Zords seem to like him. For all we know, this could be one of Master Org's tricks. Cole, who had dark hair and an earnest face, shook his head. No, Taylor, I can sense his heart. There's no evil in him, but there is something else. He approached Naruto cautiously. You carry another being within you, don't you? I can feel 2 heartbeats. Naruto raised an eyebrow, impressed. You're perceptive. Yes, I'm the Jinchuriki of Kurama, the 9-tailed fox. At the word, fox, a distant roar echoed across the meadow. Princess Shayla's eyes widened. Red Lion Wild Zord is responding to you. Not just the lion, Alyssa, the White Ranger, said softly. Listen. The cacophony of animal calls had organized itself into something resembling a melody. Why? Different species singing in impossible harmony. The ground beneath them trembled slightly as massive shapes appeared on the horizon, approaching with purposeful strides. The wild Zords are coming, Danny, the Black Ranger, whispered in awe. All of them. I've never seen them gather like this. Naruto felt Kurama stir within him. Naruto, these creatures, they're similar to the tailed beasts in some ways, but different. They're pure nature chakra given form, not chakra constructs like us. I can feel them reaching out to me as well. The fox inside me can sense your wild Zords, Naruto explained. He says they're like concentrated nature energy. Princess Shayla clasped her hands together. That's the most accurate description of wild Zords I've ever heard. They are the living embodiment of nature's power. Guardians of the balance between human and animal worlds. She winced suddenly, the motion reopening her wound. You need healing, Naruto said, guiding her to sit on a nearby boulder. May I? After her nod of permission, he gently placed his hand over her injury. Golden chakra flowed from his fingers, intermingling with the natural energy of this world to neutral. Eyes the toxins before accelerating her body's natural healing process. How are you doing that? Max, the Blue Ranger, asked, watching the wound close before his eyes. Where I come from, we can man. Ipolate chakra, life energy, for various purposes, including healing, Naruto explained as he worked. Though my healing abilities are usually more limited than this, something about this world is amplifying my connection to natural energy. As the last of the wounds sealed, leaving unblemished skin behind, the first of the wild Zords arrived, a massive red lion that approached with regal confidence. It stopped 20 feet away, regarding Naruto with intelligent eyes before letting out a thunderous roar. To everyone's shock, Naruto responded with a roar of his own, the sound carrying Kurama's power beneath his human voice. The red lion wild Zord lowered its head in what appeared to be a bow. He just communicated with the red lion, Cole said in disbelief. I can barely understand him myself, and I've been trying for months. More wild Zords arrived. An eagle, tiger, shark, bison, and others Naruto didn't recognize. Each acknowledged him in turn, creating a circle around the Rangers and Princess Shayla. The air thrummed with palpable energy. What are they saying? Princess Shayla asked, her voice hushed. Naruto tilted his head, listening to the chorus of animal voices now clear in his mind. They're saying that the worlds are in danger. Something, or someone, is trying to bridge dimensions for malevolent purposes. They've been calling for help across the barriers. His brow furrowed. They say I'm not the only one who might come through. Taylor stepped forward. What does that mean? Before Naruto could answer, a pulse of dark energy washed over them. In the distance, purple lightning cracked across the previously clear sky. The wild Zords grew agitated, roaring and stamping as one. Something's wrong, Cole said, his face paling. The wild Zords are afraid. Naruto's expression hardened as he recognized the malevolent energy signature. That's impossible, he whispered. But you feel it too, Kurama growled within him. That's Akatsuki chakra. We need to get to the animarium immediately, Princess Shayla urged, looking to the darkening sky. Whatever's happening, we'll be safer there. The what? Naruto asked, still focused on the familiar yet impossible energy he was sensing. The animarium, our base and sanctuary, Taylor explained curtly. It's a floating island where the wild Zords live, hidden from the human world. Cole stepped forward. You should come with us. Naruto, if you really are the animal god the legend spoke of, we need your help. And if not, his expression turned serious, then we need to figure out who you are and why you're here. Naruto nodded, understanding their caution. Fair enough. I have questions of my own, starting with how energy from my world is showing up in yours. Princess Shayla moved toward a clearing where a beam of light had appeared. The portal will take us to the animarium. Please, everyone hurry. As they approached the light, Naruto felt the wild Zords beginning to fade back into the landscape. All except the red lion who followed closely behind him. He wants to stay with you, Cole noted with surprise. That's unprecedented. Naruto glanced at the massive feline. We understand each other. He reached out mentally to the wild Zord. I sense your concern. What else aren't you telling me? Asterisk. The red lion's response came as a series of impressions rather than words. Darkness rising, worlds colliding. Ancient enemies finding new allies, and a prophecy long forgotten now rushing toward fulfillment. As they stepped into the beam of light, Naruto felt his body becoming weightless. The last thing he saw before the world dissolved around him was purple lightning striking in the exact spot where he had first appeared, leaving behind a small, dark tear in reality. The animarium took Naruto's breath away. A floating island hidden among the clouds, it combined natural beauty with ancient architecture in perfect harmony. Crystal clear lakes reflected the sky. Pristine forests sheltered diverse wildlife, and stone structures covered in elaborate carvings stood as testament to a civilization long past. At the center rose a temple-like structure where Princess Shayla led them after their arrival. This place, the natural energy is incredible, Naruto murmured, feeling the power flowing through him effortlessly. It's like Mount Myoboku and the Forest of Death had a beautiful child. Mount what? Max asked, walking beside him. Places from my world, Naruto explained. One is where I learned sage techniques, abilities that harness natural energy. The other is a dangerously overgrown forest filled with oversized predators. The temple interior featured a central pool of water surrounded by stone columns. Ancient murals depicting humans and animals working in concert decorated the walls, while crystalline formations cast rainbow patterns across the floor. The sacred waters show us when danger threatens the earth, Princess Shayla explained, gesturing to the pool. They've been unusually active lately, showing disturbances we couldn't identify, until now. She approached a section of wall partially hidden behind hanging vines, revealing text in the same script that marked Naruto's skin. These prophecies were written at the founding of Animaria, over 3,000 years ago, she said, tracing the symbols with reverent fingers. They speak of a time when the barriers between worlds would thin, allowing great evil to pass through, but also a champion with the heart of both human and animal, marked by the ancient script. Who could command all wild Zords as their king? Naruto studied the writing, surprised to find he could partially understand it despite never seeing it before. Some of this resembles sealing techniques from the Uzumaki clan. He noted. My clan, he added when the others looked confused. Princess Shayla's eyes widened. The Uzumaki. The prophecy mentions the spiral of life as the symbol of the animal god. My clan's symbol is a spiral, Naruto confirmed, pointing to the emblem on his sleeve. And my name means maelstrom, a spiraling storm. Taylor folded her arms skeptically. This is all very convenient. A mysterious stranger appears, matches an ancient prophecy, and has powers that complement ours perfectly. I don't buy it, Taylor. Alyssa admonished. No, she's right to be cautious, Naruto said calmly. In her position, I'd feel the same way. He turned to face the Yellow Ranger directly. I understand skepticism. For what it's worth, I'm just as confused as you are about why I'm here. But if there's a threat to your world that's connected to mine, I want to help stop it. Taylor maintained her stern expression, but something in her eyes softened slightly at his straightforward response. Before anyone could speak further, the sacred waters began to bubble and churn. Images formed on the surface. A dark, cavernous space where a twisted figure hunched over what appeared to be an altar made of bone and wood. Purple energy crackled around a circular portal, through which shadowy figures could be dimly seen. Master Org, Cole growled, his hands clenching into fists. He's trying to contact something. Naruto leaned closer, his enhanced vision catching details the others might miss. The shadowy figures behind the portal wore black cloaks decorated with red clouds. Akatsuki, he whispered, ice forming in his veins. But that's impossible. They were defeated. I saw them fall. You know these beings? Princess Shayla asked, alarm clear in her voice. They were an organization from my world. S-rank criminals who hunted Jinchuriki like me to extract our tailed beasts. Naruto's expression darkened with memory. They nearly succeeded in starting a world war. We defeated them at great cost. The image in the water shifted, showing Master Org holding up what looked like a fragment of red stone that pulsed with malevolent energy. The Gedo statue fragment. Naruto breathed in horror. A piece of the shell that contained the 10 tails. The waters rippled again, showing a map of the city with several locations marked by glowing purple spots. Those are sites of recent Org attacks, Danny observed. But they form a pattern now, some kind of massive seal array across the city. Naruto studied the pattern, recognizing elements from forbidden jutsu scrolls he'd seen in Tsunade's office. It's a dimensional anchoring seal, he explained grimly. They're trying to create stable pathways between our worlds. Why would Master Org want to connect to your world? Max asked. Power. Naruto answered simply. The Akatsuki sought to harness the tailed beasts to create a weapon of unimaginable destruction. If Master Org is offering them a new world to conquer in exchange for that power. The implications hung heavy in the air. We need to disrupt that seal array, Taylor decided, immediately shifting to tactical planning. If they've already placed anchor points at these locations, we'll need to disable them simultaneously. There are 7 points, Cole noted. We're only 6, counting Naruto. 7, came a new voice from the temple entrance. They turned to see a man in a wolf-themed jacket standing in the doorway. His dark hair fell across intense eyes that immediately locked onto Naruto with suspicious assessment. Merrick. Princess Shayla breathed, a complex emotion crossing her features. I felt the call of the wild Zords, Merrick explained, not taking his eyes off Naruto. All of them, at once. That hasn't happened since. He trailed off, then straightened. Since the Age of Legends. He approached Naruto directly, stopping just a few feet away. You're not from this world. It wasn't a question. No, Naruto confirmed. But I'm here to help. Merrick studied him for a long moment before nodding once. The wolf wild Zord accepts you. That's enough for me, for now. He turned to the others. I've been tracking unusual Org activity for weeks. They're building towards something massive tonight, during the lunar eclipse. Then we need to move quickly, Cole decided. Naruto, will you fight alongside us? Naruto nodded, his expression resolute. Your enemies are trying to contact mine. That makes this my fight too. We should split into teams, Taylor suggested. Each take one of the anchor points. I can help with that, Naruto said, forming a familiar hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. In a series of smoke puffs, 6 perfect copies of Naruto appeared around the temple. The Rangers stared in shock. Alyssa was the first to find her voice. They're solid, not illusions. Each clone has my abilities and can act independently, Naruto explained. They're real bodies until they're dispelled by sufficient damage. That could be useful, Taylor admitted, clearly reassessing her evaluation of their new ally. Princess Shayla approached Naruto, carrying WH. It appeared to be an ancient medallion bearing the image of a fox surrounded by other animals. This was mentioned in the prophecy, the crest of the animal god. Legend says it would recognize its true owner. When Naruto accepted the medallion, it glowed with golden light, the animal images seemingly coming alive under his touch. A pulse of energy spread outward, washing over everyone present. The sensation was warm, like sunlight after rain. I guess that settles it, Max said with a grin. Princess Shayla nodded solemnly. According to the prophecy, the animal god Ranger doesn't need our technology to morph. The power comes from within, from the connection to all wild Zords. Morphing? Naruto asked. Cole explained. It's how we transform into Power Rangers, accessing the power of OU. Our wild Zords to fight at our full potential. Naruto looked down at the medallion, feeling Kurama's chakra resonating with it. This artifact is interesting, the fox commented within him. It's like a focus point for the natural energy of this world, similar to how the sage toads use natural energy, but more refined. We should prepare, Merrick interjected, ever practical. The eclipse begins in 3 hours. As the Rangers moved to gather their equipment, Princess Shayla lingered near Naruto. There's more to the prophecy that I haven't shared with the others, she said quietly. It speaks of great sacrifice and choice. The animal god will stand between worlds, belonging fully to neither. Naruto met her concerned gaze steadily. I'm familiar with prophecies, princess. They rarely tell the whole story. And they never dictate our choices. A small smile touched her lips. You speak with wisdom beyond your years. I've had good teachers, he replied, thinking of Jiraiya, Kakashi, and others who had shaped his path. And I've learned that destiny is what we make of it. As they prepared to depart, Naruto stepped outside to the edge of the animarium, looking out at the world spread below. So similar to his own, yet fundamentally different. The wild Zords had gathered again, watching him from forest edges and lake shores, dozens of powerful beings that somehow recognized him as kin. You realize what's happening, don't you? Kurama's voice rumbled through his mind. The natural energy of this world is binding to you, just as it did when you first learned Sage Mode. But this is deeper, more permanent. I noticed, Naruto replied softly. The question is why? What connection could possibly exist between the Uzumaki clan and this world's animal god prophecy? The Sage of Six Paths once spoke of dimensions beyond our own, Kurama mused. Perhaps there are connections between worlds that even he didn't fully understand. There contemplat. Ion was interrupted by Taylor's approach. Unlike the others who treated him with deference after the medallion's response, she maintained a healthy skepticism that Naruto found refreshing. The others are ready, she informed him. Princess Shayla will guide us from here through the sacred waters. Naruto nodded, turning from the view. You still don't trust me completely. Taylor didn't bother denying it. Trust is earned, not given. You've shown power and the wild Zords accept you, but that's not enough for me. What would be? Show me who you are when everything is on the line, she answered without hesitation. Anyone can fight when winning is easy. Character shows in the hardest moments. A genuine smile crossed Naruto's face. We agree on that much. Where I come from, we say. The true measure of a shinobi is not how they live, but how they die. Something in her expression shifted, not quite softening, but acknowledging common ground. Let's hope we don't have to test that philosophy today. They rejoined the others as final preparations were made. Each ranger would take one of Naruto's shadow clones to a different anchor point in the seal array. The real Naruto would accompany Cole to what appeared to be the central node, Master Org's likely location. Remember, we must strike simultaneously, Princess Shayla instructed. The moment the eclipse reaches totality, the barriers between worlds will be at their thinnest. That's when they'll attempt to complete the connection, and when we must sever it. How will we communicate across such distances? Alyssa asked. Naruto tapped his forehead. My shadow clones maintain a mental link. When one is dispelled, its experiences return to me and any other active clones. We'll coordinate through them. As they prepare to depart through the portal that would return them to Earth, the Red Lion Wild Zord approached Naruto once more. This time, it was joined by representatives of each species: eagle, shark, tiger, bison, wolf, and others he couldn't name. They want to give you something, Cole said, watching the wild Zords with wonder. This is unprecedented. Each animal touched its forehead to the medallion Naruto now wore around his neck, transferring a spark of energy that caused the corresponding image to glow momentarily. When the last had contributed, the medallion pulsed with rainbow light before settling into a steady golden glow. They've acknowledged you as their king, Princess Shayla whispered, awe evident in her voice. Even Merrick, as the Lunar Wolf Ranger, only commands a few wild Zords. No one in history has been recognized by all of them. Naruto felt the power settling into his chakra network, harmonizing with his existing abilities rather than overriding them. Unlike the invasive nature of Orochimaru's cursed seals or the destructive potential of Kurama's chakra before they had become partners, this power felt natural, an extension of his existing connection to nature. I won't let them down, he promised. Both to the wild Zords and the Rangers. Whatever connects our worlds, whatever threatens them both, we'll face it together. The portal activated, a beam of light connecting the animarium to the world below. Be careful, Princess Shayla cautioned them. Master Org has grown stronger since your last encounter, and these new allies from the other dimension may possess powers we don't understand. Quote, we've faced worse odds, Cole said confidently. So have I, Naruto added with a small smile. Usually before breakfast, as they stepped into the light, descending toward the battlefield below, Naruto felt a strange certainty settling over him. Whatever forces had brought him to this world, whatever prophecy was unfolding, he would face it as he had aced every challenge in his life, with determination, compassion, and an unshakable will to protect those who needed him. The animal god Ranger was awakening. The city sprawled beneath them as they exited the portal, lights beginning to twinkle in the approaching dusk. From this height, the pattern of the seal array was clearly visible, 7 points arranged in a spiral, with the central node located in an abandoned industrial area near the harbor. We'll split up here, Cole instructed as they landed in a secluded park. Everyone knows their targets. Naruto's shadow clones each paired with a ranger, while the original stood beside Cole. Before they separated, Naruto addressed the group. My clones will dispel themselves if they encounter something beyond their capabilities, he explained. That way, I'll instantly know if any team needs backup. Don't hesitate to tell them if you're in trouble. The Rangers nodded in understanding. May the power protect you, Cole said formally. And may the will of fire guide your hearts, Naruto responded with his own traditional blessing. The teams dispersed, each heading toward their designated targets with determined strides. As Naruto and Cole made their way toward the harbor, the Red Ranger glanced at his companion. That phrase you used, the will of fire. What does it mean? It's the founding principle of my village, Naruto explained. The belief that love is the key to peace, that when we fight to protect the people and places we love, we find our true strength. Cole nodded thoughtfully. The Wild Force Rangers protect the harmony between humans, animals, and the earth. It sounds similar. Different words, same heart, Naruto agreed. They moved swiftly through the city, Naruto adapting his shinobi stealth techniques to the urban environment. As they approached the harbor, the familiar sensation of malevolent chakra grew stronger. There, Cole whispered, pointing to a warehouse with faint purple light flickering through its windows. Master Org's energy signature is coming from inside. Naruto extended his senses, identifying multiple presences within. 14 hostiles inside. 4 have chakra signatures similar to your org's. The others, he frowned. They're not Akatsuki, but they have similar energy patterns. Possibly corrupted humans from this world, infused with chakra from mine. Can we handle that many? Cole asked, not from fear but tactical assessment. Naruto's expression was calm. Yes, the confidence in that single word wasn't bravado, it was the measured certainty of Song. One who had faced overwhelming odds repeatedly and emerged victorious. They positioned themselves on the roof of an adjacent building, observing through skylights. Inside, Master Org stood before a pulsing portal of purple energy. Surrounded by grotesque Org creatures and humans wearing robes marked with simplified red cloud patterns. In the center of the warehouse floor, an elaborate seal aura. Y had been drawn using what appeared to be blood mixed with some kind of purple substance. At 7 points around the array, crystal pillars thrummed with energy, corresponding to the anchor points spread throughout the city. The eclipse begins in 20 minutes, Cole whispered, checking his communicator. The others are in position at the anchor points. Through his clone's shared vision, Naruto could see the 6 other locations simultaneously. Each featured a smaller version of the central array, guarded by Org creatures. The Rangers were preparing to engage, waiting for the signal. Something's wrong, Naruto murmured. Focusing on the portal, it's already partially open. They're ahead of schedule. As if confirming his assessment, Master Org raised his staff, addressing the assembled cultists. The alignment approaches. Our allies beyond the veil have provided the knowledge and power we need. When the moon's shadow covers the sun, the barriers between dimensions will weaken, and the great extraction can begin. Extraction, Cole whispered in alarm. Cold realization washed over Naruto. They're not just creating a bridge between worlds. They're trying to extract Kurama and the other tailed beast's chakra from my dimension. His hands clenched. That kind of power drain could destabilize both realities. Cole's expression hardened. We need to move now, before the eclipse. Naruto nodded, reaching out mentally to his clones. Change of plans. Attack immediately. Don't worry about synchronization. We need to disrupt all arrays now. Asterisk. Through the mental link, he felt each clone acknowledge the command. Ready? He asked Cole. The Red Ranger nodded, drawing his crystal saber. Wild access. He called out, initiating his transformation sequence. Red energy enveloped him, forming the armor and helmet of the Red Lion Ranger. Naruto felt the medallion at his chest pulse in response. The golden markings on his skin brightened, spreading to cover more of his body's natural energy surged through him. Unlike his usual transformation into Nine Tails Chakra mode or Sage mode, this change felt like both and neither, a unique synthesis of his existing powers with the wild energy of this new world. Golden light enveloped him, condensing into what resembled Ranger armor while maintaining elements of his Sage appearance. The armor featured patterns reminiscent of various animals, the chest plate suggesting a fox, shoulder guards resembling eagle wings, gauntlets bearing wolf-like claws, and leg armor with tiger striping. His face remained visible, but Sage markings around his eyes had transformed into the golden Animarian script. The animal god Ranger, Cole whispered in awe. Naruto flexed his hands, feeling the perfect balance of power flowing through him. Let's go. They crashed through the skylight simultaneously, descending into the warehouse with weapons drawn. Cole's crystal saber flashed with red energy while Naruto wielded kunai enhanced with golden chakra. Rangers. Master Org snarled, whirling to face them. The twisted being resembled a fusion of plant, animal, and human parts, with a horned helmet and staff crackling with purple energy. You're too late. The alignment has begun. Indeed, looking through the warehouse's broken windows, Naruto could see the moon beginning to eclipse the sun, casting an eerie twilight over the city. Actually, Naruto replied calmly, we're right on time. Across the city, his shadow clones and the Rangers launched coordinated attacks on the anchor points. Through the mental link, Naruto experienced fragments of each battle, Taylor executing perfect aerial strikes alongside his clone, Merrick's wolf attacks synchronizing with shadow clone techniques, Alyssa using her tiger style in concert with a clone's Rasengan variants. Master Org seemed to sense the disturbance as the anchor points came under attack. Stop them, he commanded the robed cultists. Protect the arrays. As the Org minions and cultists charged forward, Naruto and Cole moved in perfect tandem. Despite never fighting together before, they found an instinctive rhythm, Cole's acrobatic fighting style complementing Naruto's shinobi techniques. When Cole launched into the air for a diving attack, Naruto created shadow clones to boost his momentum. When Naruto needed an opening to form complex jutsu, Cole provided covering fire with his blaster. The portal's still growing, Cole called out as they fought through the minions. We need to reach the central seal. Naruto nodded, forming a familiar cross-shaped hand sign. Mass Shadow Clone Jutsu. Quote, 50 clones burst into existence, immediately engaging the remaining enemies and clearing a path toward the central array. As they fought, Naruto noticed cultists using crude versions of chakra techniques, fire-natured attacks that mimic the Great Fireball Jutsu, water techniques that resembled the water bullet. They've been learning ninjutsu, he realized aloud. Dodging a poorly executed lightning attack. Bastardized versions, but effective enough to be dangerous. Master Org must have been communicating with your world longer than we realized, Cole responded. Taking down 3 cultists with a spinning attack, they fought their way to the center of the warehouse where Master Org stood before the pulsing portal, which had grown to nearly 10 feet in diameter. Through its swirling surface, Naruto caught glimpses of a familiar landscape, the mountains surrounding the Hidden Leaf Village. You're too late, Rangers. Master Org crowed. The dimensional bridge is established. Soon the power of the tailed beasts will flow into our world, and I shall become a god beyond gods. Naruto stepped forward, golden energy swirling around him. You understand nothing about the tailed beasts or the consequences of what you're attempting. Master Org's eyes widened as he truly focused on Naruto for the first time. What manner of ranger are you? That power, it resembles what lies beyond the portal. I am Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox, Naruto declared, allowing Kurama's power to flash in his eyes momentarily. And you're messing with forces you can't control. Fear flickered across Master Org's twisted features before being replaced by malicious calculation. So the prophecy was true, the animal god has come. He laughed, the sound devoid of humor. How perfect that you arrived just in time to witness your world's power becoming mine. The eclipse continued its progression outside, the sky darkening further. As moonlight replaced sunlight, the portal's pulsing increased in frequency and intensity. Purple energy crackled along the seal array, which began to rotate slowly, symbols shifting and realigning. Through his connection with the shadow clones, Naruto felt the anchor points across the city activating simultaneously, channeling energy toward their position. 4 of his clones had already been dispelled in fierce battles. But the Rangers were continuing to fight at those locations. Cole, Naruto said urgently, I need to disrupt the central seal. Can you handle Master Org? The Red Ranger nodded, determination evident even through his helmet. Just tell me what you need. Time, Naruto answered simply. About 2 minutes. Cole raised his crystal saber, red energy blazing along its length. You'll have it. He charged Master Org with a ferocity that forced the villain away from the portal and seal array. Their weapons clashed in showers of red and purple energy, Maste. Org's greater power balanced by Cole's speed and determination. Naruto knelt beside the central seal, studying its structure. The design incorporated elements from both worlds, Org symbols intertwine. With modified versions of chakra formula he recognized from forbidden scrolls in the Hokage's archives. At the center lay the fragment of red stone, unmistakably a piece of the Geto statue that had once contained the 10 tails. Be careful, Naruto, Kurama cautioned. That fragment still contains traces of the 10 tails chakra. Direct contact could be dangerous even for you. I see it, Naruto murmured. The seal is drawing power from both dimensions, using the eclipse as a natural amplifier. He placed his hands at key points around the array, channeling golden chakra to count. The purple energy flowing through the system. The markings on his skin brightened in response, sections of the Animarian script seeming to leap from his body to overwrite portions of the seal array. The portal fluctuated, its surface rippling as Naruto's intervention disrupted its stability. On the other side, Naruto caught a clearer glimpse of his home world, and a horrifying sight. Purple GY tendrils had extended from the portal, reaching toward Konoha in the distance, attempting to draw chakra across dimensions. Across the city, his remaining shadow clones worked in concert with the Rangers to disrupt the anchor points. Through their shared experience, Naruto coordinated a simultaneous countermeasure, using the wild energy of this world to neutralize the corrupted chakra of the arrays. Master Org noticed what was happening and howled in rage. With surprising strength, he hurled Cole across the warehouse and turned his attention to Naruto. You will not undo my work, he snarled, raising his staff. Purple lightning erupted from its tip, striking toward Naruto's unprotected back. Without looking up from the seal, Naruto raised one hand behind him. Golden energy formed a perfect shield, absorbing the attack completely. Your technique is flawed, Naruto stated calmly, continuing his work. You're attempting to extract and contain tailed beast chakra without proper understanding of its nature. Even if you succeeded, it would consume you from within. Master Org launched another attack, more powerful than the first. This time, multiple energy beams converged from different angles, forcing Naruto to create a dome-like shield around himself. The barrier held, but the interruption cost precious seconds in his work on the seal. Cole recovered, rejoining the battle with renewed determination. Red Lion Fang, he called, his weapon transforming into a more powerful configuration. The attack drove Master Org back once more, giving Naruto the opening he needed. The eclipse reached totality, darkness falling over the city. The seal array spun faster, symbols glowing with intense purple light. The portal expanded suddenly, its diameter nearly doubling as the barriers between worlds reached their thinnest point. Naruto felt all the wild Zords, energy flowing through him, joining with Kurama's chakra and his own sage abilities. The medallion at his chest said with rainbow light as he channeled this combined power into the array. Sage Art. Dimensional Harmony Seal. The technique came to him instinctively, golden light forming complex patterns that overlaid the corrupted seal. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, starting at the edges, the purple symbols began to fade, replaced by golden script that radiated outward toward the center. The spinning of the array slowed, then stopped entirely. Master Org screamed in rage and desperation. No, the power was mine, mine. He broke away from Cole, charging toward Naruto with his staff raised for a killing blow. Cole tried to intercept but was knocked aside by a desperate backhand strike. Naruto completed the last segment of his counterseal just as Master Org reached him. Rather than defending himself, he pressed both hands against the ghetto statue fragment at the center of the array. Pain unlike anything he'd experienced before tore through him as the fragment's corrupted chakra made contact with his own. It felt like the extraction process Akatsuki had once subjected him to, but in reverse, poisoned energy forcing itself into his chakra network rather than pulling Kurama out. Master Org's staff descended toward his head, only to be caught mid-strike by a massive red paw. The Red Lion Wild Zord had materialized partially within the warehouse, its form translucent but solid enough to halt Master Org's attack. More Wild Zords appeared, the eagle, tiger, shark, bison, and wolf, each manifesting just enough presence to form a protective circle around Naruto. Impossible, Master Org gasped. Wild Zords cannot manifest in the human world without rangers. Through gritted teeth, Naruto managed a smile. I am the animal god ranger. They go where I go. With a final surge of effort, Naruto completed the counterseal. The golden script covered the entire array, nullifying its power completely. The portal began to contract, its edges becoming unstable. Master Org howled in desperate fury. You've ruined everything, but if I cannot have the power of your world, I'll ensure you never return to it. He lunged forward, pushing past the spectral Wild Zords to grab Naruto by the throat. With shocking strength, he lifted Naruto and hurled him directly into the shrinking portal. Naruto! Cole shouted, rushing forward. The portal's unstable energy flared at Naruto's contact, tendrils of golden and purple light wrapping around him. For a moment, he hung suspended between worlds, one hand reaching back toward Cole and the Wild Zords, the other extended toward a glimpse of Konoha visible on the other side. The ghetto statue fragment, dislodged from the center of the seal, spun through the air and struck the portal's edge. A massive energy discharge erupted, blinding everyone in the warehouse. When the light faded, the portal had vanished completely. All that remained was a scorch mark on the floor, and Naruto, lying unconscious at its center. The eclipse ended, sunlight returning to the city. Across the urban landscape, the Rangers successfully destroyed the remaining anchor points, severing all connections to Naruto's world. Cole rushed to Naruto's side, checking for signs of life. Naruto, can you hear me? Slowly, Naruto's eyes opened. They were different now, still blue, but with golden rings surrounding the pupils and tiny symbols in Animarian script visible within the iris. Did we stop it? He asked weakly. Cole nodded, relief washing over his features. The portal's gone. The connection's been severed. You did it. Naruto tried to sit up, wincing with the effort. The golden armor had vanished, leaving him in his standard Jonin attire, though the markings on his skin remained. Something's wrong, he said, pressing a hand to his chest. I can't feel, Konoha. It's like a connection has been cut. Naruto. Kurama's voice came with unusual gentleness. I believe the pathway back to our world has been sealed. When Master Org threw you into the collapsing portal, it created a paradox. You were simultaneously entering and exiting the same dimensional gateway. I'm trapped here, Naruto whispered, the realization settling over him. Cole helped him to his feet as the other rangers arrived, having completed their missions across the city. They gathered around Naruto with expressions of concern and respect. The wild Zords, Taylor said. Her earlier skepticism replaced by genuine awe. They appeared in the city. All of them, at once. People saw them manifesting to protect various locations while we fought. Master Org, Naruto asked. Gone, Cole answered. When the portal collapsed, he was caught in the energy discharge. I don't think he was destroyed completely, but he's been banished somewhere, at least for now. Princess Shayla's voice came through their communicators. Rangers, bring Naruto to the animarium immediately. The sacred waters are showing something important. With Stir Org's forces scattered and the immediate threat neutralized, they made their way to an isolated area where the animarium's transport beam could reach them. As they prepared to ascend, Naruto took one last look at the city below. It's not so different from Konoha, Kurama observed quietly. No, Naruto agreed. Different buildings, different people, but the same heart. The beam of light enveloped them, carrying them upward to the floating island where, perhaps, answers awaited. The animarium welcomed them with unusual activity. Wild Zords had gathered in unprecedented numbers around the temple, their calls forming a harmonious chorus that resonated across the floating island. As the rangers and Naruto approached, the animals parted, creating a path to the temple entrance. Princess Shayla awaited them beside the sacred waters, her expression a mixture of concern and wonder. You succeeded, she said, relief evident in her voice. The connection between worlds has been severed. But at a cost, Naruto replied quietly. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. The waters have been showing me fragments of what happened. You're bound to our world now, aren't you? It seems that way, Naruto confirmed. The pathway back was destroyed when Master Org threw me into the collapsing portal. Princess Shayla gestured to the pool, where images formed on the surface, the seal array, the portal. The moment of collapse. There's more. When you neutralized the seal with the wild Zords power, you didn't just close the portal. You became the living connection between our worlds. What does that mean? Cole asked. It means, she continued, that while Naruto can't physically return to his world, his spirit is now bound to both realms. He is quite literally the animal god, the bridge between human, animal, and now, dimensions. The waters shifted, showing the golden markings that still adorned Naruto's skin. These Animarian scripts have become part of you, by Nding your chakra to our world's wild energy. It's unprecedented, but it explains why all wild Zords responded to you, why they could manifest in the city without ranger assistance. Naruto approached the pool, looking at his reflection, at the subtle changes in his eyes, the permanent markings on his skin. So I'm stuck here, but I'm also more than I was. Yes, Princess Shayla confirmed. And according to the prophecy, this is just the beginning. The waters revealed another image, 7 individuals in ranger armor, but unlike any they had seen before. At the center stood a figure in Elden armor with elements of all animal tribes, clearly Naruto in his transformed state. Around him were 6 others, each with armor that combined wild force elements with unique aspects Naruto recognized from his world. The new wild force, Princess Shayla explained, led by the animal god Ranger, bridging 2 worlds to face threats neither could handle alone. Naruto stared at the image, particularly at the 6 surrounding figures. Something about them seemed familiar, though their identities were obscured. Master Org may be gone for now, Princess Shayla continued, but the sacred waters show darkness gathering. By attempting to harness power from your world, he has drawn attention from beings in both dimensions. Others will come seeking what he failed to achieve. Then we'll be ready, Cole stated firmly. He turned to Naruto. You fought alongside us today as if we'd been a team for years. Whatever comes next, we face it together. The other Rangers nodded in agreement. Even Taylor offered a small smile of acceptance. Welcome to Wild Force, she said simply. Naruto looked around at these new allies, different from his friends in Konoha, yet similar in their courage and determination. The Wild Zords called from outside, their voices forming a melody that resonated with something deep within him. It's not the homecoming we expected, Kurama commented, but perhaps it's the one we needed. Naruto touched the medallion at his chest, feeling the connection to all the Wild Zords, to this floating island, to this new world that needed him. The path forward was uncertain, but that had never stopped him before. Thank you, he said to the Rangers and Princess Shayla. I don't fully understand what it means to be the animal god yet, but I'll give everything. I have to protect this world, just as I would have protected my own. Princess Shayla approached, placing a gentle hand on his arm. There is much for you to learn about our world, as there is much we can learn from you. But that can wait until tomorrow. Tonight, you should rest and heal. As the group dispersed, Naruto found himself drawn to the edge of the animarium once more. Night had fallen completely, stars spreading across the sky in constellations he didn't recognize. The city lights twinkled below, reminding him of Konoha viewed from the Hokage monument. Do you regret it? Taylor's voice came from behind him. She had followed him outside, her usual brusque manner softened by the events of the day. Helping you? Naruto asked. Never. Being trapped here, she clarified. Separated from your home. Naruto considered the question seriously. I miss my friends, my village, the future I thought I would have there. He paused, looking up at the unfamiliar stars. But a W.I.S.A. person once told me that home isn't a place, it's the people who acknowledge you, who see your true worth. Taylor moved to stand beside him, her gaze following his to the night sky. For what it's worth, I think you proved your worth today. To all of us. A smile touched Naruto's lips. Coming from you, that means a lot. They stood in companionable silence for a moment before Taylor spoke again. Princess Shayla says the markings on your skin tell a story, that each symbol represents a different aspect of the animal god's power. Some haven't been seen in 3,000 years. In my world, I'm the last of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto replied. We specialized in sealing techniques, controlling and channeling energy through written symbols. Maybe that's why the Animarian script resonated with me. The red lion Wild Zord approached, its massive form moving with surprising grace. It stopped before Naruto, regarding him with intelligent eyes before lowering its head in a gesture of respect. He says you're home, Cole interpreted, joining them at the edge of the floating island. All the Wild Zords do. They've been waiting for the animal god for centuries. Naruto reached out, placing a hand on the red lion's mane. The connection was immediate and profound, not the contractual relationship of a summoning jutsu or even the partnership he shared with Kurama, but something deeper. Understanding without words, trust without conditions. Then I won't let them wait any longer, he promised. Whatever role I'm meant to play here, whatever challenges come next, I accept them. As if in response to his words, the medallion at his chest pulsed with golden light. Across the animarium, Wild Zords raised their voices in a chorus that seemed to reach beyond dimensions, a song of welcome, of power, of destiny accepted. The animal god had arrived, and though the path that brought him was not one he would have chosen, the journey ahead promised purpose and connection that transcended the boundaries between worlds. High above, a shooting star traced a spiral pattern across the night sky, a sign that even separated by dimensions, the will of fire burned on. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2 Worlds Apart. Dawn painted the animarium in hues of amber and gold, casting long shadows across ancient stone and verdant meadows. Naruto sat cross-legged atop a weathered monolith, eyes closed in meditation. 3 days had passed since his arrival in this strange world, each sunrise bringing fresh wonders and lingering questions. The familiar rhythm of gathering natural energy felt different here, wilder, more primal. Yet paradoxically more refined. Your chakra network is still adapting, Kurama observed within their shared consciousness. The natural energy of this world resonates at a different frequency. I've noticed, Naruto replied silently. It's like learning Sage Mode all over again, but the energy practically leaps into my body instead of requiring stillness to gather. A chorus of distant roars, howls, and calls echoed across the floating island, the wild Zords greeting the new day. Naruto had quickly learned that the Animarium operated on ancient rhythms, patterns established millennia ago when the floating sanctuary was first created. The wild Zords followed these rhythms instinctively, but also responded to disturbances in the natural order. And Naruto, according to Princess Shayla, represented both the fulfillment of ancient prophecy and a profound disruption to the established order. "You're up early," came a voice from below. Naruto opened his eyes to find Taylor standing at the base of the monolith, her practical khaki clothing and determined stance suggesting she'd been awake for some time as well. Unlike the other rangers who returned to the city each night, Taylor occasionally stayed on the Animarium to train at dawn. "Ninja habit," he replied with a slight smile, leaping down in a controlled descent that barely disturbed the morning dew. "The quiet hours are best for centering yourself." Taylor nodded approvingly. "Military teaches the same. The soft ones sleep in, the disciplined rise with purpose." Her directness continued to remind Naruto of Temari, though Taylor lacked the Suna Kunoichi's cutting sarcasm. Instead, she possessed a straightforward pragmatism born of military training and natural leadership instincts. "Any success with your experiments yesterday?" she asked, falling into step beside him as they walked toward the central temple. Naruto's expression sobered. "Some. I can create shadow clones and most of my jutsu work normally. But anything requiring precise dimensional manipulation is unstable." He flexed his hand, golden script briefly illuminating beneath his skin. "My chakra keeps harmonizing with the wild energy here, changing how techniques manifest." Princess Shayla might have more insights. She's been studying the ancient texts about the animal gods since you arrived. The Ancient of the Animarium's guardian brought a contemplative expression to Naruto's face. Princess Shayla had been nothing but kind and supportive since his arrival, treating him with a reverence that made him somewhat uncomfortable. Her formal manner and ancient knowledge provided valuable context, but he sensed an underlying curiosity about him as a person that she kept carefully restrained. "I hope so," he replied. "Understanding how my abilities work here could help us prepare for whatever comes next." The central temple came into view, its ancient stones gleaming in the morning light. Ncess Shayla stood beside the sacred waters, her white dress rippling in the gentle breeze as she sang a melodious tune that carried across the Animarium. As her voice rose and fell, the wild Zords responded in kind, their calls forming complex harmonies that seemed to strengthen the very air around them. Naruto paused at the temple entrance, unwilling to interrupt the ceremony. Taylor similarly hung back, a rare expression of softness crossing her normally stern features. "The morning blessing," she explained quietly. "It helps maintain the Animarium's connection to Earth. She performs it every day without fail." As the final notes faded, Princess Shayla turned, noticing them immediately. "Good morning," she called, her formal tone warming slightly. "I trust you both rested well." "Well enough," Taylor answered. "I was telling Naruto you might have insights about his chakra experiments." "Yes, in fact, I've been translating scrolls that mention the animal god's powers." Princess Shayla gestured to ancient parchments spread beside the sacred waters. "They speak of the merging of spirit energies and the harmony of worlds embodied in flesh." Naruto approached, examining the scrolls with interest. The script resembled the markings that now permanently adorned his skin, though many symbols remained unfamiliar. "Can you read any of this?" Princess Shayla asked, watching him curiously. "Some words look similar to ancient Uzumaki sealing formulas," he replied, tracing a particular symbol. "This one means bridge, or connection, in my clan's oldest texts. And this resembles our symbol for nature's balance." Single quote quote. Princess Shayla's eyes widened. "You're right. Those are precisely their meanings in Animarian." "How remarkable." Taylor crossed her arms, watching their exchange with shrewd assessment. "Another connection between worlds. Too many coincidences for comfort." "I agree," Naruto said, straightening. "The Uzumaki were renowned for sealing techniques and unusual chakra even by shinobi standards. If there was ever contact between our worlds in ancient times, my clan might have been involved." The sacred waters rippled suddenly, images forming on the surface unbidden. A forest scene appeared, showing a cloaked figure moving swiftly between massive trees, pursued by several wolf-like shapes. "Someone's approaching the animarium," Princess Shayla said, concern evident in her voice. "The dear wild Zord is guiding them, but the wolves." Taylor immediately shifted to tactical mode. "Hostile." Princess Shayla shook her head uncertainly. "I don't sense org energy. But the wild Zords are agitated." "I'll check it out," Naruto offered, already moving toward the temple exit. "My shadow clones can investigate without risk." "I'm coming too," Taylor insisted, falling into step beside him. "No offense, but this is still our world. I should be first contact with potential threats." Naruto nodded acceptance as they hurried toward the area ere the sacred waters had shown the approaching visitor. He formed a single hand sign, creating 4 shadow clones that immediately dispersed in different directions to establish a perimeter. Within minutes, a mental image flashed into Naruto's consciousness as one clone spotted the intruder, a slim figure in tattered animal skin clothing, moving with the fluid grace of a trained hunter. More Serp. Rising were the 3 wolves flanking the stranger, their behavior suggesting companions rather than captors. "Northeast clearing," Naruto reported to Taylor. "1 human, 3 wolves. They're working together." Taylor raised an eyebrow. "Wolves don't cooperate with humans unless..." Her eyes widened slightly. "Unless they're wild Zords in physical form." They reached the clearing moments later, positioning themselves at the edge as the stranger emerged from the tree line. Up close, Naruto could see it was a young woman with wild, dark hair streaked with silver. Her clothing combined animal hides with scraps of more modern fabric, all adorned with symbols reminiscent of the Animarian script. Most striking were her eyes, amber with vertical pupils that suggested something beyond ordinary humanity. The wolves flanking her were massive specimens, their silver-gray fur rippling with barely contained power. They moved with unnatural coordination, scanning the clearing with intelligent assessment rarely seen in mundane animals. The woman stopped in the center of the clearing, her head tilting slightly as she scented the air. "I know you're watching," she called, her voice melodic yet carrying a rough edge. As if human speech wasn't her primary mode of communication. "The wolves told me you were here." Taylor stepped forward, positioning herself slightly ahead of Naruto in a protective stance. "Who are you and how did you find the animarium?" The woman's amber eyes fixed on Taylor briefly before shifting to Naruto with intense focus. "I am Amy of the Wolf Tribe," she replied, never looking away from him. "Last of my kind. I came because the pack had visions, the animal god has awakened." She took a step forward, sniffing the air between them. "You carry his scent." Naruto remained still, recognizing predatory assessment when he saw it. This woman moved like the Inuzuka clan, but with an even deeper connection to her animal aspects. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki," he responded calmly. "I arrived here recently through a dimensional rift. Some believe I fulfill a prophecy about an animal god, but I'm still figuring out what that means." Amy approached with cautious steps, her wolves maintaining formation around her. When she stood barely an arm's length away, she extended a hand palm up, not to shake, but apparently to exchange scent. Taylor tensed beside him, but Naruto recognized the gesture from interactions with the Inuzuka clan's Ninken. He extended his own hand, palm down over hers without touching, allowing his scent to waft between them. Amy's nostrils flared as she inhaled deeply. Her eyes widened, pupils dilating until the amber was merely a thin ring around black. "Fox and toad and something ancient," she whispered. "Sage energy, but different." And she inhaled again. "Power like the lunar wolf, but greater. Much greater." The wolves had circled around them, approaching Naruto with curious whines. Unlike normal wolves that might show caution or aggression toward strangers, these 3 displayed reverence, lowering their heads and exposing their necks slightly as they drew near. "They recognize you as Alpha," Amy explained, watching the interaction with evident surprise. "They say your spirit howls in harmonies they haven't heard since the first age." Taylor observed the exchange with cautious interest. The wolf tribe was supposedly extinct. Merrick never mentioned survivors. Amy's expression flickered with complex emotion at Merrick's name. "The lunar wolf ranger knows nothing of our survival. After the great battle Aga, Inst Master Org 3,000 years ago, the few remaining wolf tribe members retreated deep into the sacred forests. We became more wolf than human with each generation, preserving ancient knowledge through pack memories. Her gaze returned to Naruto. But the pack has dreamed of your coming for 3 moons. They say you will need wolf tribe knowledge to fulfill your purpose. Princess Shayla's voice came from behind them. The ancient texts mentioned the wolf tribe as the animal god's first guardians. She had followed them to the clearing, her expression a mixture of wonder and scholarly interest as she observed Amy. They possessed unique abilities to channel wild energy without morphers or crystals. Amy turned toward Princess Shayla, immediately dropping to one knee in a formal gesture that contrasted with her otherwise feral demeanor. Princess of Animaria, the pack remembers your songs. Rise, daughter of the wolf tribe, Princess Shayla responded with equal formality. You are welcome on the Animarium. As Amy stood, her wolves circled once more before settling into relaxed postures, apparently accepting the peaceful nature of the encounter. Perhaps we should continue this discussion at the temple, Princess Shayla suggested. The other rangers will arrive soon for training, and I believe they should meet our new guest. Naruto nodded agreement, though his attention remained partially on Amy. There was something familiar about her connection to her wolves, reminiscent of both the Inuzuka clan's partnerships and his own bond with the toads of Mount Myoboku, yet distinct from either. As they walked back toward the temple, Naruto felt one of his shadow clones dispel from the opposite side of the Animarium, transferring its experiences directly to his consciousness. The clone had been experimenting with channeling wild energy through Naruto's existing techniques, with surprising results. Everything all right? Taylor asked, noticing his momentary distraction. Just got information from a clone, Naruto explained. I've been experimenting with how my jutsu interact with this world's energy. It seems I can create pathways for wild energy to flow through my chakra network. Is that significant? She asked pragmatically. Potentially. In my world, different types of chakra generally don't mix easily without special training or bloodline abilities. He flexed his hand, golden script briefly illuminating beneath his skin. But here, it's happening naturally through these markings. Princess Shayla, overhearing their conversation, looked back with interest. The scrolls describe the animal god as the living conduit through which the wild flows unimpeded. Perhaps your chakra pathways are adapting to fulfill that function. That would explain why the wild Zords responded to you immediately, Taylor mused. If you're essentially a walking energy converter between human and animal power. Naruto considered this thoughtfully. It made sense, particularly given how natural energy in this world seemed magnetically drawn to him during meditation. Unlike the careful balance required for sage mode, here the energy actively sought connection. They arrived at the temple to find Cole already waiting, his expression brightening at their approach. The Red Ranger had taken to visiting the Animarium early, apparently hoping to improv his communication with the wild Zords through observation of Naruto's methods. His eyes widened upon seeing Amy and her wolves. Who's this? Brief introductions were made, with Cole reacting to the revelation of the wolf tribe's survival with characteristic open acceptance. Within minutes, the remaining rangers arrived through the portal from Earth, Max, Danny, and Alyssa joining the growing group with varied expressions of curiosity and surprise at finding a newcomer in their midst. A surviving wolf tribe member, Alyssa repeated, her scholarly interest immediately engaged. That's incredible. The historical records suggested they were completely wiped out during Master Ord's first reign. Amy shifted uncomfortably under the combined attention, edging closer to her wolves. Pack survived by becoming less human. More wolf, she explained tersely. Hiding in deepest forests, preserving old ways through pack memory. Max approached one of the wolves with characteristic enthusiasm, only to halt abruptly when it raised its hackles. Whoa, friendly visitors, right? They protect pack, Amy replied simply. No threat to Animarium, but cautious with strangers. Princess Shayla gathered everyone around the sacred waters, which now showed calm, undisturbed reflections. Amy's arrival is significant, she explained. The wolf tribe were the original guardians of the wild before the Animarium was created. Their connection to wild energy predates our understanding of wild Zords as we know them today. And she says she's been having visions about Naruto. Danny asked, adjusting his glasses. Not her wolf pack, Taylor clarified. Apparently they've been dreaming about the animal god for months. All eyes turned to Naruto, who maintained his composure despite the scrutiny. I'm still not convinced that's what I am, he said honestly. I'm a shinobi from another dimension with sage abilities and a tailed beast partner. The rest might just be coincidence. Amy shook her head firmly. No coincidence. Wolf Pack dreams never wrong. They see spirit trails across time. Spirit trails? Cole asked with interest. Amy seemed to struggle with explaining concepts that were intuitive to her. Like tracks in snow, but made of light. Show where spirit has been, will go. Your spirit, she looked directly at Naruto, leaves trail brighter than sun. Connects to all wild things. Princess Shayla nodded thoughtfully. That aligns with the ancient texts. They speak of the animal god leaving a golden path that all wild beings may follow to harmony. Conversation was interrupted as the sacred waters began to ripple, images forming on the surface. The familiar skyline of Turtle Cove appeared, but with an ominous purple haze hanging over the harbor district. Org activity. Cole identified immediately, straightening from his relaxed posture. But it's different from usual org energy, Princess Shayla noted, her brow furrowing. There's something foreign about it. Naruto leaned closer, studying the purple energy. That looks like corrupted chakra from my world, he observed grimly. Similar to what we saw when Master Org was attempting to connect with the Akatsuki. Coordinates show it's near the site of the dimensional portal we closed, Taylor added, already shifting into tactical assessment. Could be residual energy, or our Master Org is trying again. Cole finished. The Rangers exchanged determined looks, their brief moment of peace shattered by the reminder of ongoing threats. We should investigate immediately, Cole decided. Princess Shayla, can you track the energy signature while we check the site? She nodded. The sacred waters will allow me to monitor the situation. I'm coming too, Naruto stated firmly. No room for argument in his tone. If chakra from my world is involved, I'm your best chance of understanding and countering it. What about me? Amy asked, rising to her feet with fluid grace. Her wolves instantly alert beside her. Wolf tribe knows old ways to fight corruption. Can help. Cole looked to Princess Shayla, who considered briefly before nodding. The wolf tribe were powerful allies against the original orgs. Their techniques might prove valuable. Then it's settled, Cole concluded. We move out immediately. As the Rangers prepared to depart, Naruto created Errol Shadow clones to remain on the Animarium, continuing his experiments with wild energy while he investigated the disturbance. One clone would stay with Princess Shayla, providing protection and instant communication if needed. The portal to Earth activated, a column of light connecting the Animarium to the world below. As they stepped into its radiance, Naruto noted how the wild Zords called out in harmonious support, a stark contrast to the isolated silence that had often accompanied his missions in the shinobi world. Different world, similar battles, Kurama observed within him. But here, you're never truly alone. The thought was oddly comforting as they descended toward whatever threat awaited below. The harbor district of Turtle Cove sprawled before them as they emerged from the portal. Industrial warehouses and shipping containers creating a maze of metal and concrete. Unlike the natural beauty of the Animarium, this human-constructed landscape seemed harsh and angular. Though Naruto recognized the practical efficiency behind its design. The energy signature is strongest near Pier 17, Taylor reported, checking a handheld device that resembled a more compact version of the monitoring systems in the Animarium temple. Naruto extended his senses, using his sage abilities to scan for disruptions in the natural flow of energy. There's definitely chakra present, he confirmed, but it's distorted, like it's being filtered through something. Cole nodded. Let's approach with caution. Max, Danny, circle around to the east. Alyssa, Taylor, take the west approach. Naruto, Amy, and I will move in directly from the south. The team split according to Cole's instructions, moving with practiced stealth through the industrial landscape. Naruto was impressed by their coordination. While lacking the specialized infiltration training of shinobi, the Rangers demonstrated solid tactical awareness and teamwork. Amy moved with primal grace beside him. Her wolves ghosting through shadows with predatory efficiency. Smell corruption ahead, she whispered, nostrils flaring. Like rotting spirit, Naruto nodded, feeling the same disturbance through his sage senses. Its chakra being forcibly altered, twisted to serve a purpose it wasn't meant for. They approached a large warehouse, its metal walls corroded in patterns that resembled the script on Naruto's skin, but distorted. As if something had attempted to replicate Animarian symbols without understanding their true meaning. "This is where we fought before," Cole murmured, recognizing the location where they had closed the dimensional portal days earlier. The central node of the seal array. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he studied the corrupted symbols etched into the warehouse walls. Someone's trying to reconstruct the portal, but they're doing it wrong. These symbols are bastardized versions of both Animarian script and Uzumaki sealing formulas. Through their communicators, Taylor's voice came quietly. "West side clear, proceeding to loading bay entrance. East perimeter secure," Max added. "But there's something weird about the ground here, purple crystal formations growing from the concrete." "Hold position," Cole instructed. "We'll rendezvous at the south entrance in 2 minutes." As they continued their approach, Naruto felt a sudden pulse of foreign energy Rom within the warehouse, familiar yet wrong. He stopped abruptly, raising one hand in warning. "That signature," he whispered, "it feels like Sasori of the Red Sand, an Akatsuki member. But he's dead. I witnessed his defeat." Amy growled low in her throat, her wolves mimicking the sound. "Not dead. Sense says. Half alive. Changed." The Rangers converged at the south entrance, gathering in the shadow of a shipping container for final coordination. Taylor's expression was grim as she reported, "Thermal imaging shows multiple heat signatures inside, humanoid but with abnormal temperature patterns." "Org-human hybrids," Cole suggested. "We've encountered them before." Naruto shook his head. "This is different. If I'm right, someone's trying to recreate Akatsuki members using org essence and residual chakra from the dimensional rift. That's disturbing," Alyssa commented, her normally cheerful expression sobered. "Whatever they are, we need to stop them before they succeed in reopening the portal," Cole decided. "Rangers ready." They nodded in unison, determination replacing concern. "Wild access." The Rangers called in unison, initiating their transformation sequence. Colored energy enveloped each of them, forming their distinctive armor and helmets. Naruto felt the medallion at his chest pulse in response to their transformation, golden energy flickering across his skin. Unlike before, however, the full animal god armor didn't manifest, perhaps because there was no immediate life-threatening danger. "You have transformation too?" Amy asked, noticing the golden script brightening on his forearms. "Something like that," Naruto replied, still figuring out how it works. She nodded understanding. "Wolf tribe transforms differently. Watch." She closed her eyes briefly, and the air around her seemed to shiver. Her form didn't change dramatically, but her nails lengthened into claws, her teeth sharpened visibly, and the silver streaks in her hair brightened until they almost glowed. Most strikingly, her eyes transformed completely, becoming fully lupine with expanded peripheral vision. "Partial manifestation," she explained, her voice deeper and rougher. "Full wolf form reserved for greatest need." Naruto nodded appreciation for the technique, recognizing parallels to his own transformations. Before he could respond further, a crash echoed from within the warehouse, followed by a pulse of purple energy that washed over them like a physical wave. "Now," Cole commanded, and they burst into action. The Rangers used their enhanced strength to force open the loading bay doors, revealing the warehouse interior transformed into something resembling a macabre laboratory. Purple crystals erupted from the concrete floor in geometric patterns, each formation pulsing with sickly light. At the center, where the dimensional portal had once stood, a grotesque amalgamation of technology and organic matter formed a rough archway. Most disturbing the figures working around the structure, humanoid but wrong, their bodies partially composed of org matter with distinctive elements that Naruto recognized from Akatsuki members. One had metal compo, nents emerging from its back like Sasori's puppet mechanisms, another manipulated water with techniques reminiscent of Kisame Hoshigaki. "Abominations," Amy snarled, her wolves bristling beside her. The creatures turned at their entrance, revealing faces that were melded combinations of human features and org characteristics. Their eyes glowed with the same purple light as the crystals, Recogni. Cheon flickering as they focused on Naruto. "The vessel has returned," hissed the Sasori-like creature, its voice a grating combination of mechanical and organic sounds. Master will be pleased. Rangers. The apparent leader stepped forward, its form more fully orged than the others. You've saved us the trouble of hunting you down. And you've brought the key directly to us. Cole stepped protectively in front of Naruto. Whatever you're planning stops now. Wild Force Rangers, attack. The battle erupted with explosive force, Rangers engaging the hybrid creatures with coordinated precision. These enemies fought differently than standard orgs, employing techniques that combined org powers with distorted versions of shinobi abilities, water bullets, puppet-like weapons, and explosive clay, all modified by org essence. Naruto leapt into the fray alongside them, his shadow clones multiplying their effectiveness. He noted with interest how his Rasengan interacted with the wild energy flow. Through his system, each spiraling sphere trailing golden light that seemed to specifically counter the purple corruption in the hybrid creatures. Amy and her wolves demonstrated surprising combat effectiveness, moving as a coordinated pack to isolate and overwhelm individual opponents. Her fighting style was unlike anything Naruto had seen, more primal than the Inuzuka clan's techniques, yet executed with deadly precision. The archway, Taylor called out, pointing to the central structure where purple energy had begun to coalesce. They're trying to activate it. Naruto dispatched his current opponent with a sage-enhanced strike and turned toward the archway. Its design was fundamentally flawed, a dangerous amalgamation of partial knowledge from both worlds. That's not a stable portal, he warned, recognizing the chaotic energy patterns. If they activate it, it could tear reality apart instead of creating a controlled passage. The leader of the hybrid creatures laughed, a hollow, distorted sound. It doesn't need to be stable. Master Org requires only a momentary connection to extract what he needs. Understanding dawned with chilling clarity. They're not trying to create a permanent portal. Naruto realized aloud. They're attempting to punch a temporary hole between dimensions, just long enough to pull through more corrupted chakra. Cole engaged the leader directly, his crystal saber clashing against the creature's clawed appendages. How do we stop it? We need to disrupt the energy flow, Naruto replied, analyzing the structure. The crystals are conducting and amplifying the corruption. If we destroy them in the right sequence, the whole system should collapse. Taylor fought her way to his side. Tell me the sequence. I'll take the east side, you take west. Naruto quickly identified the primary nodes in the crystal formation. Start with the largest crystal, then move clockwise to each junction point. The energy flow should reverse and implode. They split up, fighting through hybrid creatures to reach their targets. Amy and her wolves provided covering support, their coordinated attacks creating openings for the Rangers to advance. Naruto approached the western crystal formation. The Sasori hybrid intercepted him, metallic appendages whirling with lethal intent. The vessel cannot interfere, it intoned. Your energy belongs to Master Org. I don't belong to anyone, Naruto countered, forming a Rasengan infused with wild energy. The technique manifested differently than before, the usual blue sphere surrounded by golden light that shaped itself into miniature animal forms, constantly shifting and reforming. The hybrid creature hesitated, its purple eyes fixed on the technique with something resembling fear. That power, it counters the master's influence. Exactly. Naruto drove the modified Rasengan into the creature's chest, the golden energy specifically targeting and neutralizing the corrupted chakra within its form. Unlike his usual Rasengan's grinding destruction, this variant seemed to purify rather than destroy, separating the twisted energies and dissipating the corruption. The hybrid collapsed, its form reverting to ordinary org matter without the animating chakra to sustain its hybrid nature. Across the warehouse, similar battles unfolded as the Rangers pressed their advantage, now understanding the weakness of these particular enemies. Alyssa's white tiger techniques proved especially effective, her pure energy naturally countering corruption. Naruto reached the crystal formation and channeled sage chakra into his hands, identifying the precise points to strike. With surgical precision, he began shattering crystals in the sequence he had determined, each breaking with a discorda NT chime that seemed to pain the remaining hybrid creatures. Taylor, now, he called, seeing she had reached her position. The Yellow Ranger nodded, her golden eagle sword slicing through the east. RN crystals in perfect synchronization with Naruto's efforts. As they destroyed the final nodes simultaneously, the purple energy flowing through the system stuttered, reversed direction, and collapsed inward. The archway at the center shuddered, cracks spreading across its surface as the energy feeding it dissipated. The hybrid leader howled in rage, breaking away from its battle with Cole to lunge toward the failing structure. No, the connection must be maintained. It reached into the fading purple light at the archway's center, seemingly trying to hold the collapsing energy field open through sheer force of will. For a brief moment, the light stabilized, and through the wavering portal, Naruto caught a glimpse of a familiar landscape, trees that could only grow in the land of fire. Distant mountains that surrounded Konoha. His heart lurched at the sight of home, so close yet unreachable. Then something else appeared in the portal, a twisted figure wreathed in shadows, extending. What appeared to be a hand formed of pure corruption toward the opening. Master Org's voice echoed distortedly through the wavering connection. The vessel, bring me the vessel and its power. The hybrid leader strained to maintain the connection, its form beginning to disintegrate under the pressure. Master, the Rangers interfere. We cannot hold. Naruto felt a sudden pull as the collapsing portal's energy latched onto his chakra, attempting to draw him toward the opening. The golden markings on his skin flared in response, creating a protective barrier against the corrupted force. Naruto, Cole shouted, seeing his ally being pulled toward the unstable vortex. In that moment of crisis, Naruto felt something shift within him. The medallion at his chest pulsed with rainbow light, and the voices of all wild Zords seemed to echo in his mind simultaneously. Power surged through his chakra network, wild energy combining with his sage abilities and Kurama's chakra in perfect harmony. Animal God access. The words came unbidden to his lips as golden light enveloped him. Unlike his previous transformation, this was a conscious manifestation of the power he had begun to understand. The animal god armor formed around him, golden with elements representing all wild Zords, the chest plate featuring a fox design while other animal aspects adorned different sections. His face remained visible, the sage markings transformed into glowing Animarian script that framed his eyes and traced his cheekbones. The corrupted energy from the portal recoiled from his transformed state, its pull on him instantly severed. With newfound clarity, Naruto assessed the collapsing dimensional tear and recognized both danger and opportunity. He strode forward, power radiating from each step. The hybrid creatures shrank back, their corrupted forms unable to withstand proximity to the purified wild energy he now embodied. Everyone back, he commanded, his voice carrying harmonic undertones that suggested multiple animals speaking in unison. The Rangers withdrew immediately, recognizing the authority in his tone. Amy and her wolves followed suit, though she watched with intense fascination rather than concern. Reaching the unstable portal, Naruto raised both hands, golden energy flowing from his palms in controlled streams. Rather than attempting to close the tear immediately, he carefully stabilized its edges, creating a momentary equilibrium that allowed him to look through to the other side. The shadowy figure of Master Org recoiled from the golden light, but remained visible beyond the portal. Behind him, Naruto could see a corrupted version of the ruins where he had first discovered the dimensional disturbance in his world. Your methods are flawed, Naruto addressed the villain directly, his voice carrying across dimensions. Chakra cannot be harvested and controlled like this. You're endangering both worlds with your ignorance. Master Org's distorted laughter echoed through the connection. Bold words from one stranded between worlds. You think you understand power. I have learned secrets from your dimension that will revolutionize my conquest. What why? I've learned are fragments and corruptions, Naruto countered. And this ends now. With precise control, he began to seal the dimensional tear properly, not with crude force but with carefully crafted energy that respected the boundaries between worlds. The golden script from his skin flowed outward, forming a containment seal around the portal's perimeter that gradually compressed the opening. As the portal shrank, Master Org's voice called out one final taunt. Seal this pathway if you will, animal god. There are others. The barriers between worlds grow thinner each day. Soon, not even you will stop the merging. The portal collapsed with a flash of golden light, leaving behind a perfectly sealed circle etched into the warehouse floor, Animarian script intertwined with Uzumaki sealing formulas in a harmonious pattern. Naruto's transformation faded as the immediate danger passed, the animal god armor dissolving into motes of golden light that were reabsorbed into his body. He swayed slightly, steadying himself against a nearby support column. That was intense, he murmured, feeling the drain on his chakra reserves. Unlike his usual techniques, the animal god transformatio N seemed to require perfect balance between his own energy, Kurama's chakra, and the wild energy of this world. Cole approached cautiously. "Are you all right?" Naruto nodded, straightening with effort. "I'll be fine. That form is powerful but taxing. Still learning its limitations." The Rangers gathered around the sealed portal site, their transformations releasing as the hybrid creatures lay defeated around them. Only the leader had been completely destroyed, drawn into the collapsing portal in its final moments. "You could see your world," Taylor observed quietly. "For a moment, it was right there." "Yes," Naruto acknowledged, a complex mixture of emotions crossing his features. But the connection was corrupted. Trying to pass through would have been fatal, and might have spread the corruption further. Amy approached, her partial wolf transformation receding as she studied the sealed circle. "Good work," she said simply, running clawed fingers lightly over the etched symbols. "Strong seal. Old magic." "Not magic," Naruto corrected gently. "Energy manipulation guided by intent and knowledge. My clan specialized in such techniques." She shrugged, seemingly unconcerned with terminology. "Works same. Protects boundaries." Max kicked lightly at one of the fallen hybrid creatures, which had reverted to ordinary org matter without the animating corrupted chakra. "What exactly were these things?" "Attempts to recreate powerful shinobi from my world using org essence and residual chakra," Naruto explained grimly. "Master Org must have gathered intelligence about Akatsuki. I members when he established the first connection. These were poor imitations, but dangerous nonetheless. And he's trying to establish more connections between dimensions," Alyssa added worriedly. "Even with this one sealed." Cole nodded. "We need to report this to Princess Shayla immediately. If there are other potential weak points between worlds, we need to find and secure them." As they prepared to depart, Naruto took one last look at the sealed portal site. Though necessary, each severed connection felt like another barrier between himself and home. "You're thinking about what might have been," Kurama observed within their shared consciousness. "Whether you could have used that portal differently." "The thought crossed my mind," Naruto admitted silently. "But it was too unstable, too corrupted. And you have responsibilities here now," the fox completed his thought. "The prophecy, the animal god role." "Exactly. Whatever connection exists between my clan and this world, it's more than coincidence. I need to understand it before making any attempts to return home." They exited the warehouse, leaving behind sealed secrets and lingering questions. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the harbor district, a stark contrast to the unsettling darkness they had confronted inside. "You transformed," Taylor said quietly as they walked side by side toward the portal site that would return them to the animarium. "Officially, I mean, with a morphing call and everything." Naruto smiled slightly. "Apparently I did. It felt right somehow. Like the words were there waiting for me to discover them." "Animal god access," she repeated. "Simple but effective. Very different from our morphing sequence, though." "Different worlds, different methods," he replied. "But similar purpose." Taylor studied him with assessing eyes. "You know, when you first arrived, I thought you might be a threat or a distraction. But after seeing you fight today, how you analyzed the situation. Coordinated with us without ego, and put sealing that portal above your personal desire to see your home." She offered a rare smile. "You've earned my respect, Naruto Uzumaki." Coming from Taylor, who had maintained professional skepticism long after the others had embraced him, the acknowledgement carried significant weight. "Thank you," he replied sincerely. "That means a lot." As they rejoined the others at the portal site, Amy fell into step beside Naruto, her wolves flanking them protectively. "You fight well," she observed. "But still learning wild ways. Wolf tribe can teach techniques to channel animal spirit more efficiently." "I'd appreciate that," Naruto replied. "Every advantage helps against enemies who can cross dimensions." The portal activated, light enveloping them as they ascended toward the animarium. As earth fell away beneath them, Naruto felt a strange dual sensation, the pull of his distant home world balanced against G. Rowing connections to this new realm and its protectors. Two worlds, both needing protection, with him somehow bridging the gap between them. The animal god's path was becoming clearer, one challenge at a time. Evening descended upon the animarium, painting ancient stone in amber and gold. After reporting their findings to Princess Shayla, the rangers had spent hours discussing implications and planning countermeasures. Now, as stars emerged in the darkening sky, most had departed for their homes in Turtle Cove, leaving Naruto, Princess Shayla, and their newest ally Amy to continue research into dimensional boundaries. The temple's interior glowed with soft light as Princess Shayla carefully unrolled ancient scrolls across stone tables. These texts describe the original creation of the animarium, she explained. They mention paths between worlds that the founders sealed to protect the wild Zords. Naruto examined the scrolls with interest, recognizing more similarities to Uzumaki sealing techniques with each ancient document they studied. My clan's records mentioned dimensional theory, but always as theoretical concepts, not practical applications. Yet these diagrams show functioning portal designs. Maybe not coincidence, Amy suggested, studying the scrolls with surprising scholarly focus that belied her feral appearance. Wolf tribe stories tell of spiral people who came through golden light in ancient times. Taught first animal guardians before animarium existed. Princess Shayla looked up sharply. The wolf tribe predates animarian civilization. If they encountered visitors from another dimension, it could explain the connection between Uzumaki's sealing techniques and animarian script. Naruto finished, excitement building. My clan might H. Avenue visited this world thousands of years ago. The implications were profound. If Uzumaki clan members had traveled between dimensions in ancient times, perhaps they had left knowledge that could help him understand his current situation, or eventually find a way home. Here, Princess Shayla indicated a particular passage. This describes spiraling gateways, created by red-haired sages who spoke with animals and wrote with light. That certainly sounds like your clan. Naruto nodded, remembering the distinctive Uzumaki traits that had thinned through generations. Most Uzumaki had red hair and unusually potent chakra. My mother was one of the last full-blooded clan members. A comfortable silence fell as they continued studying the ancient texts, each lost in thought. The peaceful moment was interrupted when the sacred waters began to ripple, images forming on the surface unbidden. They gathered around the pool, watching as scenes from across Turtle Cove appeared, ordinary people going about their evening routines. Unaware of dimensional threats or prophecies. Why is it showing us this? Naruto wondered aloud. Princess Shayla's expression softened. The waters often reflect what we need to see, not just what we ask to be shown. Perhaps it's reminding us why we fight, the everyday lives we're protecting. The images shifted, focusing on particular individuals, a teacher working late grading papers, a nurse tending patients, children playing in a park despite the growing darkness. Ordinary moments of humanity that somehow carried profound significance. Easy to forget, Amy murmured, watching the scenes with unexpected tenderness. When fighting monsters, why fighting matters. Naruto understood completely. In the shinobi world, missions and battles often obsc. The fundamental purpose of their efforts, protecting ordinary people living ordinary lives. Here, the animarium itself seemed determined to remind them of that purpose. The waters shifted again, this time showing Taylor in what appeared to be a military office, surrounded by maps and flight plans. She was in uniform, working with focused determination despite the late hour. She serves two duties, Princess Shayla explained, noting Naruto's interest. Air Force Lieutenant and Yellow Ranger. Never compromising either responsibility. The image changed to Cole, sleeping under the stars in what looked like a wildlife sanctuary. Surrounded by peaceful animals. Then Alyssa studying in a university library, Max teaching children to swim, and Danny tending plants in a greenhouse. They all have lives beyond being rangers. Naruto observed. Princess Shayla nodded. Balance between duty and personal life is essential for rangers. The burden of protection becomes unbearable without connections to what they're protecting. The observation struck Naruto deeply. As a shinobi, especially during wartime, he had often struggled to maintain such balance, duty to village frequently overshadowing personal connections. Yet his strongest moments had always come when fighting to protect those connections. What about you? He asked Princess Shayla. Do you have balance between guardian duties and personal life? A shadow of sadness crossed her features. My situation is different. As guardian of the Animarium, I slept for 3,000 years, awakening only when the orgs returned. This modern world remains somewhat foreign to me, and my duties consume most of my time. Sounds lonely, Naruto commented gently. She smiled, though the expression didn't quite reach her eyes. I have the wild Zords and the Rangers. It's enough. Naruto recognized the familiar pattern. Someone putting duty above personal needs, insisting they were satisfied with sacrifice. He had seen it in Tsunade, in Kakashi, in so many shinobi who gave everything for their village while claiming they needed nothing for themselves. Before he could respond, Amy spoke up unexpectedly. Pack needs all members healthy. Even Alpha. No strength in isolation. Princess Shayla looked surprised at the insight from the feral woman. Wolf wisdom is profound as always, she acknowledged with a small bow of her head. Perhaps I have neglected certain aspects of life in my focus on duty. The sacred waters rippled once more, the images fading as if responding to the conclusion of their conversation. In the quiet that followed, Naruto sensed subtle shifts in the atmosphere, not just in their philosophical discussion, but in the energy flowing through the Animarium itself. He had noticed this pattern over the Saint days. The floating island seemed almost sentient, responding to emotions and intentions of those upon it. Unlike the fixed chakra networks of his world, the wild energy here flowed with adaptive intelligence, adjusting to needs and situations. I'd like to try something, he said, rising from beside the waters. A technique that might help us better understand the connections between worlds. Princess Shayla looked interested. What kind of technique? In my world, there's a meditation method used by sages to extend sensory perception beyond normal limits, he explained. With the Animarium's concentrated natural energy, I might be able to adapt it to sense dimensional boundaries. Dangerous? Amy asked pragmatically. Not with proper control, Naruto assured her. And I'll have Kurama monitoring to pull me back if needed. He moved to an open space in the temple, sitting cross-legged on the stone floor. The familiar hand position for gathering natural energy came automatically, though he modified it slightly to incorporate elements of the Animarian script now marked upon his skin. This may take some time, he warned as he closed his eyes. And I might appear unresponsive. Princess Shayla nodded understanding. We'll keep watch. The wild Zords will alert us to any dangers. Naruto took a deep breath and began the meditation process, sinking into the familiar stillness that allowed natural energy to flow through him. Immediately he noticed differences from his usual sage meditation. Rather than requiring careful balance and concentration to draw energy in, he needed to moderate the overwhelming flow that naturally surged toward him. Careful, Kurama cautioned. The wild energy here is more potent than nature chakra in our world. Too much could overwhelm your chakra network. I feel it, Naruto acknowledged silently. It's like trying to direct a river instead of collecting raindrops. He adjusted his technique, using the golden script. On his skin as natural channels to guide the energy flow. To his surprise, the markings responded instinctively, brightening and shifting slightly to optimize the pathways. As his awareness expanded beyond physical limitations, Naruto began to perceive the Animarium differently, not just as a floating island but as a nexus of wild energy, a concentration point where the essence of all animals and natural forces converged. The wild Zords appeared as brilliant constellations of light, each uniquely patterned yet harmoniously connected to the whole. More surprising was his perception of Princess Shayla and Amy. The Animarium's guardian radiated gentle light that connected to every wild Zord simultaneously, while Amy's energy signature showed unusual integration of human and wolf aspects, not a partnership like the Inuzuka clan, but a true hybridization at the spiritual level. Extending his awareness further, Naruto could perceive Turtle Cove below, and beyond that, the wider Earth with its complex web of human and animal energies. The planet itself pulsed with life force fundamentally similar to his own world, yet with subtle differences in frequency and pattern. Pushing his senses to their limit, he searched for boundaries, the edges where this dimension met others. At first, he perceived only darkness between stars, empty spaces between energy signatures. Then, focusing on the memory of the corrupted portal, He began to detect faint disturbances in the fabric of reality, places where the boundaries between worlds thinned almost to transparency. One such boundary attracted his attention immediately, a resonance point that seemed to vibrate at a frequency matching his own chakra signature. Following this connection, his consciousness brushed against a familiar energy pattern, Konoha, his home. For a breathtaking moment, Naruto could sense his world as if looking through gauzy fabric, the Hokage monument, the village streets, friends going about their lives. Tsunade at her desk, Sakura at the hospital, Kakashi reading on a rooftop. So close, yet separated by barriers he couldn't physically cross. The connection was tenuous but unmistakable, a natural affinity between his chakra and his home dimension. With careful focus, he traced the connection back, identifying the corresponding point in this world, a natural rock formation in the mountains north of Turtle Cove, where something about the local energy field created a natural thinning of dimensional boundaries. As he prepared to withdraw from the meditation, something else caught his attention: 6 distant court energy signatures resonating at frequencies that matched aspects of his own. Unlike the connection to Konoha, these weren't places but potentials, future events or persons not yet manifested but somehow connected to his presence as the animal god. The effort of maintaining such expanded awareness began to strain his reserves, and Naruto carefully withdrew, retracing his consciousness back to his physical body. The return was gentler than expected, the animarium's energy supporting his transition rather than resisting it. His eyes opened to find Princess Shayla and Amy watching him with concerned expressions. The temple was now fully dark except for crystal formations that glowed with soft blue light, suggesting considerable time had passed. "You were in meditation for over 3 hours, Princess Shayla informed him. The wild Zords gathered outside the temple while you were under. They seemed expectant." Naruto nodded, taking a moment to readjust to normal perception. "I found something," he said, his voice slightly rough from disuse. "A natural thin point between dimensions, located in the mountains north of here. It resonates with my chakra signature specifically." Princess Shayla's eyes widened. "A natural portal location, not quite a portal," he clarified. "More like a place where the boundaries naturally thin. With the right techniques, it might be possible to establish communication. If not physical travel." Amy tilted her head curiously. "Saw something else too. Your scent changed while meditating. More complete." Naruto wasn't surprised by her perception. "I sensed 6 energy signatures that seem connected to my role as the animal god. Not fully formed yet, but waiting somehow." "The Animal King's court," Princess Shayla whispered, excitement filling her voice. "The ancient texts mention 6 guardians who would serve alongside the animal god when fully awakened, each representing a different aspect of wild power." "That aligns with what I sensed," Naruto confirmed. "But I couldn't identify who or what these guardians might be, only that they're connected to my presence here." The sacred waters began to ripple again, but instead of images, symbols formed on the surface, Animarian script that arranged itself in a circular pattern resembling a seal array. Princess Shayla gasped softly. "It's providing instructions," she explained, quickly retrieving parchment to copy the fleeting pattern. "A ceremony to help identify the potential guardians." As she worked to transcribe the symbols, Naruto shared his other findings, the confirmation that Konoha still existed, that his friends continued their lives unaware of his fate, and that dimensional boundaries followed patterns similar to chakra networks. "So there is way home," Amy observed pragmatically. "Eventually." Potentially, Naruto qualified, but not without significant power and precise technique. And attempting it prematurely could damage both worlds. "Which is exactly what Master Org wants," Princess Shayla added, completing her transcription of the symbols. "To weaken dimensional boundaries for his own purposes." Naruto stood, stretching muscles stiffened from hours of immobility. "Whatever Master Org is planning, whatever these guardian connections mean, we're better prepared now. Knowledge is the first step toward effective action. Tomorrow we investigate Mountain Site," Amy suggested. Princess Shayla nodded. "Yes, but with caution. We should bring the Rangers as well. If Master Org learns of this natural thin point, it would become a prime target." As they prepared to rest for the night, the wild Zords outside the temple raised their voices in harmonious chorus, not their usual evening calls, but something more deliberate and focused. Through his enhanced connection, Naruto understood their message. Acknowledgement of progress, warning of challenges ahead, and pledge of unwavering support. In just days, his perception had shifted dramatically, from disoriented visitor to connected guardian, from seeking a way home to establishing deeper roots in this new world. The path forward remained uncertain, but no longer felt directionless. As Naruto settled into the quarters Princess Shayla had prepared for him within the temple, he felt Kurama stir within their shared consciousness. "You're adapting faster than expected," the fox observed. "This world responds to you naturally." "It's strange," Naruto admitted. "In our world, I had to fight for every acknowledgement, prove myself repeatedly. Here, it's as if everything was waiting for me." "Perhaps because this world needs exactly what you are," Kurama suggested. "A bridge between human determination and animal wisdom, between order and wild freedom." The observation resonated deeply. Throughout his life, Naruto had stood between seemingly opposed forces, human and Biju, individual and community, tradition and innovation. Perhaps his entire journey had been preparation for this role as the animal god, bridging not just aspects of one world but multiple dimensions. Sleep came easily despite the weight of new discoveries, his dreams filled with olden pathways connecting stars and the harmonious calls of wild Zords echoing across realities. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, two worlds breathed in synchrony through their unexpected connection. The animal god slept, and the animarium kept watch. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, The Sage and the Princess. Dawn touched the eastern edge of the animarium, gilding ancient stones with gentle radiance. Princess Shayla stood at the temple's entrance, her melodious voice carrying across the floating island in the traditional morning blessing. Wild Zords responded from forest and lake, ire harmonious calls weaving with her song to strengthen the mystical energies that sustained their sanctuary. From his meditation perch atop a nearby monolith, Naruto observed the ritual with quiet appreciation. A week had passed since his dimensional meditation had revealed the natural thin point in the mountains, a week of intensive training, research, and growing understanding of his role in this world. The golden markings had spread further across his skin during this time, no longer limited to his arms but forming intricate patterns across his shoulders and chest. According to Princess Shayla's translations, these symbols represented aspects of wild energy he had successfully integrated, each new marking expanding his connection to the wild Zords and the animarium itself. As Princess Shayla's song concluded, Naruto leapt down from his perch, landing with practiced silence on the stone pathway. She turned at his approach, a warm smile replacing her ceremonial solemnity. "Good morning, Naruto," she greeted, her formal manner softening as it increasingly did in his presence. "You're joining us early today. I wanted to test something before the others arrive," he explained. Falling into step beside her as they entered the temple. "The integration technique we discovered yesterday, I think it might allow me to maintain animal god form longer without chakra depletion." Princess Shayla nodded thoughtfully. The ancient texts suggest the animal god's power was meant to be sustained, not merely called upon in emergencies. If you've found a way to balance the energy requirements, that would align with the prophecies. The inner temple glowed with soft light from crystal formations embedded in the walls, illuminating research materials spread across stone tables. NT scrolls lay carefully unrolled beside modern notebooks where Princess Shayla had meticulously translated Animarian text into English for the ranger's benefit. "Any progress with the ceremonial circle?" Naruto asked, gesturing to a complex diagram they had been reconstructing from fragmented texts. "Some," she replied, moving to the largest scroll. "I believe this outer ring represents the 6 guardian aspects: courage, wisdom, loyalty, power, healing, and spirit. The inner symbols connect to specific wild Zord tribes, though some connections remain unclear." Naruto studied the diagram with practiced eye, recognizing elements similar to complex Uzumaki ceiling arrays. "The structure resembles chakra network mapping techniques my clan developed. These pathways would channel energy between participants, creating a balanced circuit." Princess Shayla looked impressed. "Your knowledge of energy manipulation continues to provide insights our records lack. The Animarian texts describe outcomes but often omit technical details that must have been common knowledge then." "Sealing techniques were the same way," Naruto replied with a slight smile. The Uzumaki were notorious for assuming everyone understood the basics, so they only recorded advanced concepts or variations. Their comfortable scholarly discussion was interrupted as Amy entered the temple, her wolves padding silently behind her. Though still clad in her distinctive animal hide garments, she had adopted subtle changes during her time with them. A communication device attached to a leather cord around her neck, PR. Actical pouches clearly inspired by Naruto's equipment, and most noticeably, her wild hair now partially tamed into a style that kept it from her eyes during combat. Pack leader, she greeted Naruto. With a respectful inclination of her head, not quite a bow but acknowledgement of hierarchy. Rangers coming soon, Taylor called. Merrick also. The wolf tribe survivor had grown more comfortable with technology and modern speech patterns. Though she maintained her distinctive concise delivery, her initial wariness around the team had evolved into fierce loyalty, particularly toward Naruto, whose fox sage nature resonated with her wolf instincts in ways even she struggled to articulate. "Thank you, Amy," Princess Shayla responded. "Did they mention why Merrick is joining us today? He usually patrols independently," said felt disturbance near mountain site. "Came to investigate," her amber eyes fixed on Naruto. "Training before others arrive, wolf-style counters ready." Naruto nodded, appreciating her direct approach. "I've been practicing the forms you showed me. The flowing stance works well with my sage techniques, though I'm still adjusting to the sensory prioritization." Wolf tribe combat techniques, as Amy had explained, relied heavily on adaptive sensory focus, shifting attention instantaneously between hearing, smell, sight, and environmental awareness based on tactical needs. For someone trained in shinobi methods that emphasized visual information, the adjustment had been challenging but rewarding. "Show," she requested simply, moving toward the open space at the temple's center. Naruto complied, assuming the distinctive starting position, weight balanced on the balls of his feet, hands relaxed at mid-level, head slightly inclined to maximize peripheral awareness rather than focused forward. At Amy's nod, he began flowing through the series of movements she had taught him over the past week. The technique was fundamentally different from academy-taught taijutsu, where shinobi forms emphasized efficiency and direct engagement. Wolf tribe movement prioritized continuous adaptation and environmental interaction. No stance was held longer than necessary, no pattern repeated predictably. Like actual wolves hunting, the approach used terrain and opponent psychology as primary weapons. Princess Shayla watched with scholarly interest. The wolf tribe techniques were legendary even in ancient times. They were said to move like shadows given purpose, neither fully seen nor predicted. Still stiff in transitions, Amy critiqued as Naruto completed the sequence. "Too much thinking. Wolf doesn't think about how to run, just runs." "Old habits," Naruto acknowledged with a rueful smile. "Shinobi training emphasizes conscious control. Control good, overthinking bad." Amy demonstrated a particular transition, her body flowing like water between positions. "Feel movement, don't plan it." Naruto attempted to replicate the fluid motion, focusing on the sensation rather than the technical execution. This time the movement came more naturally, his body responding to instinct rather than calculated positioning. "Better," Amy approved. "Natural sage should flow like nature, not construct like building." The observation struck deeper than she likely intended. Throughout his training, from academy days through sage techniques, Naruto approached power methodically, constructing capabilities through determined effort. Here, among the wild Zords and ancient energies, he was learning a different paradigm, power through harmonious flow rather than imposed structure. Their impromptu training session was interrupted as the temple's crystals pulsed with soft light, indicating rangers arriving through the portal. Minutes later, Cole led the team into the temple, their expressions suggesting important news. Princess Shayla, Cole greeted with a respectful nod before turning to Naruto and Amy. "We've been monitoring the mountain site as planned, and something's changed overnight." Taylor stepped forward, her military precision evident as she activated a portable display device. "Energy readings have spiked by 300% since yesterday." The natural thinning Naruto identified as becoming more pronounced without any apparent external cause. The display showed topographical maps of the mountain region with overlaid energy signatures, purple for abnormal readings, blue for natural formations. The target area pulsed with increasingly intense purple light. It's not just getting thinner, Max added, adjusting his glasses as he studied the readings. The energy pattern is developing structure, like it's organizing itself. Danny nodded agreement. It's behaving like a living system rather than a random phenomenon. Adapting, and evolving towards some specific configuration. Alyssa, whose scholarly approach complemented Princess Shayla's historical knowledge, pointed to particular pattern formations. These structures resemble both Animarian script and what Naruto has described as chakra pathways. It's almost as if the boundary itself is developing a connection system, Naruto finished, recognizing the implications immediately. Similar to how blood vessels grow to connect separate tissues. Merrick, who had remained characteristically silent near the entrance, finally spoke. There's more. The local wildlife is behaving strangely. Organized movements, unusual cooperation between species. It reminds me of patterns before wild Zords manifest. This drew everyone's attention. Wild Zords rarely appear in physical form outside the Animarium, requiring significant energy and usually ranger assistance to manifest in the human world. Could wild Zords be responding to the thinning boundary? Cole wondered. Princess Shayla studied the energy readings carefully. Perhaps, but this seems different from typical wild Zord manifestation patterns. Something is influencing both the dimensional boundary and local wildlife simultaneously. We should investigate immediately, Taylor decided with characteristic directness. If this is developing without Master Org's interference, we need to understand why. If he is involved somehow, we need to stop him. General agreement followed, though Naruto remained thoughtful, studying the energy patterns with careful attention. There's something familiar about this configuration, he noted. It resembles natural energy gathering points in my world, places where sage chakra concentrates naturally. Could the boundary be responding to your presence in this dimension? Princess Shayla suggested. Perhaps your chakra signature is influencing natural energy flow patterns across both worlds. The possibility hadn't occurred to Naruto, but it made disturbing sense. If his unique chakra, combining human, fox, and sage energies, was affecting dimensional boundaries, his very existence here could be inadvertently weakening the separation between worlds. All the more reason to investigate quickly, he concluded. If I'm somehow causing this, I need to understand and control the effect. Preparations were made swiftly, the team gathering equipment for mountain exploration while Princess Shayla consulted additional ancient texts regarding dimensional boundaries. Naruto created several shadow clones to remain on the Animarium, continuing RCH and providing instant communication if needed. As they prepared to depart, Naruto approached Princess Shayla, who was carefully packing scrolls into a protective case. "You're coming with us?" he asked, surprised. She rarely left the Animarium except in emergencies, her guardian duties typically keeping her bound to the floating sanctuary. "Yes," she replied, securing the case. "These texts contain ceremonies that might help stabilize the boundary if needed. Some require the guardian's voice to properly activate." Naruto nodded understanding. "I've been meaning to ask, how does your singing affect the wild energy?" "It's different from any jutsu or technique I've encountered." A thoughtful expression crossed her features. "It's not precisely a technique as you would understand it. Guardian's voice carries the collective memory of Animaria, resonating with wild energy at its most fundamental frequency. Through specific melodies and ancient words, I can shape that resonance to strengthen, calm, or direct the energy flow. Like a perfect pitch tuning fork for natural forces," Naruto suggested. She smiled at the comparison. "Yes, exactly. The wild Zords respond because we essentially speaking the same primal language, though their understanding is instinctual rather than learned." Their conversation continued as the team assembled at the portal site, Naruto finding her insights into Animarian energy manipulation fascinating. Though fundamentally different from chakra theory, the principles revealed surprising parallels to sage techniques, both centered on harmonizing with natural forces rather than dominating them. The portal activated, a column of light connecting the Animarium to their destination in the mountains. As they prepared to descend, Princess Shayla hesitated momentarily, her hand instinctively reaching for Naruto's arm. "The mountain regions can be unpredictable," she explained, seeming slightly embarrassed by her instinctive gesture. It's been centuries since I last visited Earth's wilderness areas. Naruto offered a reassuring smile. We'll stick together. Between rangers, a wolf tribe tracker, and a shinobi, I think we can handle mountain terrain. Her answering smile held gratitude as they stepped into the light together, descending toward whatever mysteries awaited below. The mountain air carried the sharp scent of pine and distant snow. Considerably cooler than the animarium's perpetual spring climate. They had materialized in a small clearing surrounded by ancient conifers, their massive trunks suggesting centuries of undisturbed growth. Morning sunlight filtered through branches in dappled patterns, casting the forest floor in alternating light and shadow. The energy signature is strongest about 2 miles northeast, Taylor reported. Consulting her tracking device, elevation increases approximately 800 feet over that distance. Cole knelt, examining disturbed soil near the clearing's edge. Heavy animal traffic through here, he noted. Multiple species using the same paths. That's unusual unless they're migrating or fleeing something. Amy sniffed the air, her wolves mimicking the action. No fear scent, she assessed. Not running from danger, moving with purpose, like they're being called, Merrick suggested grimly. Similar to how animals sometimes gather before org manifestations. E-Team moved forward with practiced efficiency, Taylor and Cole taking point while Alyssa and Danny flanked Princess Shayla protectively. Max maintained communication with the animarium, while Merrick and Amy constantly scanned for potential threats. Naruto alternated positions, his shadow clones periodically scouting ahead and reporting back through mental connection when dispelled. As they progressed deeper into the forest, Naruto noticed subtle changes in the environment, vegetation growing in unusually symmetrical patterns, birds singing in harmonized sequences rather than random calls, Then the arrangement of stones and fallen branches suggesting deliberate placement rather than natural distribution. The wild energy is exceptionally concentrated here, Princess Shayla observed quietly. Not just at the thinning point itself, but throughout this entire region. It feels expectant. Naruto nodded agreement, extending his senses through sage technique. The natural energy flow has developed currents and eddies. Like a river approaching rapids. It's organizing itself into channels. A sudden flash of memory hit him as a shadow clone dispelled after scouting the ridgeline ahead. There's something you all need to see, he informed the group. About half a mile forward, just before the main site. They followed his lead through increasingly dense forest until reaching a rocky outcropping that offered their first clear view of the targeted area. Collective gasps of surprise echoed as they took in the scene. A natural amphitheater had formed in the mountainside, with stone creating a perfect semicircle facing east. Within this formation, hundreds of animals had gathered. Deer, wolves, bears, eagles, and countless smaller species, all coexisting peacefully in defiance of natural predator-prey relationships. Most astonishing was their arrangement. Concentric circles radiating from a central stone platform, organized by species in a pattern that resembled the ceremonial diagram they had been studying. It's a wild Zord gathering, Cole whispered in awe. But these are ordinary animals, not Zords. Not ordinary anymore, Amy countered, her enhanced senses detecting subtle differences. Wild energy changing them, becoming more. Princess Shayla stepped forward, her expression reflecting wonder and concern in equal measure. In ancient times, this is how wild Zords were first created, ordinary animals transformed by concentrated wild energy into guardians. But that process required animarian ceremonies and took generations to complete. Whatever's happening here is accelerated, Taylor noted, checking her instruments. Energy readings are off the scale, and the dimensional thinning is centered exactly on that stone platform. Naruto studied the scene carefully, recognizing elements from both worlds integrating before their eyes. The stone platform featured naturally formed patterns that resembled both Animarian script and Uzumaki spirals. While the energy flow created visible distortions in the air above it, golden ripples that occasionally revealed fleeting glimpses of another landscape. I can see Konoha, he said quietly. Just for moments when the boundary ripples. The dimensional thinning is creating a partial window between worlds. The revelation silenced the group momentarily as they considered implications. A natural phenomenon connecting dimensions without technological intervention or org corruption was unprecedented, and potentially dangerous regardless of its benign appearance. We need to get closer, Naruto decided. I might be able to stabilize the boundary before it thins further. The animals are blocking the direct approach, Danny pointed out, and disturbing their formation might have unpredictable effects on the energy pattern. Cole stepped forward. I can communicate with them, explain our intentions. No need, Naruto replied, forming a familiar hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A dozen clones appeared, each immediately transforming into different animal forms using the transformation technique. Wolf, eagle, deer, and others matching species in the gathering. The transformed clones moved toward the assembly. Their chakra signatures adjusted to mimic the wild energy patterns of the real animals. Clever, Merrick acknowledged with rare approval. They'll gather information without disrupting the natural order. Through the mental connection with his clones, Naruto received fragmented impressions as they integrated with the animal gathering. Each species maintained a specific position and rhythm, contributing to the larger energy pattern like instruments in an orchestra. The animals weren't simply responding to the dimensional thinning, they were actively facilitating it. Channeling wild energy through biological conduits toward the central platform. They're helping create the window between worlds, he reported as understanding dawned. Not randomly, but with specific intent. They're trying to establish communication with equivalent natural forces in my dimension. Princess Shayla's eyes widened. The wild Zords have counterparts in your world. Natural energy concentrations with similar awareness. The tailed beasts, Naruto realized. 9 entities of pure chakra, each associated with specific animals and natural forces. They're the closest equivalent to wild Zords in my world. The assembled animals suddenly shifted, creating an opening in their formation, a direct path to the central platform. At the same moment, all of Naruto's transformed clones dispelled simultaneously, flooding his consciousness with their collective experience. They're inviting me forward, he translated, the message clear through the shared animal consciousness his clones had briefly joined. They recognize me as the connection point between worlds. Could be a trap, Taylor warned, military caution asserting itself. This is too perfectly orchestrated to be completely natural. Merrick nodded agreement. Even wild Zords don't typically coordinate across species with this level of precision without ranger or princess guidance. It's not a trap, Amy stated with absolute certainty. Her wolf senses perceiving something the others couldn't. Old magic, older than animarium. Pack memory says wild ones sometimes gather to renew world bonds. She's right, Princess Shayla confirmed after a moment's consideration. There are legends of great convergences, where wild energy naturally aligns across different planes of existence. But such events were GHT to occur only once every 1,000 years. Unless something, or someone, catalyzed the process, Max suggested, glancing meaningfully at Naruto. The implication was clear. Naruto's presence is a dimensional anomaly. Carrying combined human, fox, and sage energies, might have accelerated natural processes that typically required centuries to develop. After brief discussion, they decided to approach cautiously. Naruto and Princess Shayla would advance to the central platform while the rangers maintained protective positions around the perimeter. Amy and her wolves would serve as intermediaries with the assembled animals. Their wolf tribe connection allowing basic communication across species. As they walked through the opening in the animal formation, Naruto felt the wild energy intensifying around them. Princess Shayla moved with ceremonial grace beside him, her white dress seeming to glow softly in the mountain sunlight. The animals watched their passage with intelligent eyes. She reflected awareness beyond ordinary wildlife. They're changing, Princess Shayla whispered. Evolving rapidly through contact with wild energy. Not quite wild Zords yet, but no longer simply animals. Reaching the central platform, they discovered intricate patterns naturally formed in the stone, spirals and symbols created through millennia of water erosion and mineral deposits that nonetheless formed recognizable script. At the center lay a small depression filled with clear water that reflected the sky with impossible perfection. A natural sacred water pool, Princess Shayla identified with wonder. I didn't know any existed outside the animarium. Naruto knelt beside the pool, immediately recognizing the energy signature. It's connected to the one in your temple, he confirmed. They're sharing the same water source somehow, despite physical separation. The water rippled suddenly, images forming on its surface, not of current events as the animarium's sacred waters typically showed, but what appeared to be historical scenes. Ancient figures in unfamiliar clothing performed ceremonies around a much larger version of this same platform, their hands forming seals Naruto I immediately recognized as Uzumaki techniques. That's definitely my clan, he confirmed, watching red-haired individuals manipulating energy patterns that combined chakra principles with wild energy. They're creating some kind of bridge between worlds. The images shifted, showing the ceremonial platform fragmenting during what appeared to be a massive battle. Energy patterns destabilized, wild animals fled in panic, and the Uzumaki visitors used emergency sealing techniques to contain dimensional ruptures before fleeing themselves. They came here deliberately, Princess Shayla realized, watching the historical record unfold. Your clan established connections with this world in ancient times, but something went wrong. A battle against early orgs, perhaps, Naruto suggested, noting corrupted purple energy in the historical scenes that resembled modern org manifestations. They sealed the connections to prevent corruption spreading between dimensions. The final images showed Uzumaki clan members entrusting scrolls and artifacts to wolf-like humanoids, clearly wolf tribe ancestors, before departing through a golden portal that sealed itself behind them. The wolf tribe were keepers of interdimensional knowledge. Princess Shayla breathed, understanding dawning. That's why they were targeted so ruthlessly during Master Org's first rise. He wanted their secrets even then. As the water stilled, returning to its mirror-like surface, the dimensional thinning above the platform intensified. The golden ripples expanded, forming a translucent window approximately 6 feet in diameter. Through this window, Naruto could clearly see a familiar landscape, the forest surrounding Konoha, specifically the training grounds where Team 7 had first come together. It's stabilizing on its own, he observed with mixture of hope and concern. The natural energy is creating a sustainable viewing portal between dimensions. Princess Shayla studied the phenomenon with scholarly intensity. Not physical transportation, but visual and perhaps energetic connection. A window rather than a doorway. The assembled animals began making their respective calls, wolves howling, eagles screeching, deer bellowing, creating a complex harmony that resonated with the dimensional window. To Naruto's astonishment, the sound carried through the barrier, eliciting response from wildlife visible on the other side. They're communicating across dimensions, he realized. Establishing energy exchange protocols through natural frequencies. This could be incredibly valuable, Princess Shayla said. A stable observation point between worlds without the dangers of physical crossing. Before they could explore further possibilities, the window suddenly pulsed with unexpected energy, no low inger golden but tinged with purple corruption. The harmonious animal chorus faltered as something began pushing against the dimensional barrier from the other side. Something's wrong, Naruto warned, rising to his feet as he sensed malevolent intent. Something's trying to force the connection wider. The Rangers immediately moved closer, weapons ready as the dimensional window fluctuated erratically. Purple energy tendrils probed the edges of the connection, seeking weaknesses in the natural barrier. Org corruption, Merrick identified grimly. Similar to what we saw at the warehouse. Naruto formed hand signs in rapid sequence, golden chakra flowing through the animarian markings on his skin. I'll reinforce the boundary, he stated, placing both palms against the stone platform. Princess Shayla, can you use your voice to stabilize the wild energy? She nodded, immediately beginning a melodious chant in ancient animarian language. The sound carried surprising power, causing he golden aspects of the dimensional window to strengthen against the purple corruption. Through the fluctuating portal, shapes became visible on the other side, humanoid figures in dark clothing moving purposefully toward the connection point. Naruto couldn't identify specific individuals, but their coordinated movement and chakra signatures suggested shinobi training. Someone in my world has detected the connection, he informed the others tensely. They're investigating, but I sense hostile intent rather than curiosity. Could they be connected to the Akatsuki fragments we encountered? Taylor asked, positioning herself protectively near Princess Shayla. Possibly, Naruto confirmed. The chakra signatures have similar corruption patterns, though much stronger than the warehouse hybrids. The animal gathering grew restless as corruption spread, natural harmony disrupted by artificial interference. Several deer fled into surrounding forest while predator species grew agitated. Natural instincts reasserting against the temporary peace. The convergence is destabilizing, Princess Shayla warned, her voice maintaining the stabilizing melody despite obvious strain. If the corruption spreads to these proto-wild Zords, they could transform into org-infused predators. The situation deteriorated rapidly as purple corruption pushed further through the dimensional window, eye festing as oily tendrils that reached toward the stone platform. Naruto countered with golden chakra barriers, preventing direct contact with the natural sacred waters while Princess Shayla's song fought to maintain harmonic balance. We need to close the connection, Cole decided, seeing the escalating danger. Rangers, form a perimeter around the platform. Max, Danny, help evacuate any animals that haven't fled. Merrick, Amy, watch for corruption spreading to local wildlife. As the team executed Cole's instructions, Naruto felt the medallion at his chest pulse with increasing urgency. Wild Zords responding to threat against natural order. Golden energy surged through his chakra network, the Animarian markings on his skin brightening as power built within him. Animal God access. The transformation came more smoothly this time, golden light enveloping him as the ceremonial armor formed. Chest plate featuring fox design, shoulder guards resembling eagle wings, gauntlets bearing wolf-like claws. Leg protection with tiger striping. In transformed state, Naruto could perceive energy patterns with unprecedented clarity, seeing not just the physical portal but the complex diamond. Sional mathematics governing its structure. The corruption wasn't random interference but calculated attack, specifically targeting weaknesses in natural barriers. Someone with advanced knowledge of dimensional mechanics is directing this, he informed the Rangers, voice carrying harmonic overtones in animal god form. They're using the natural thinning as opportunity to establish artificial connection. Through the fluctuating portal, one figure became clearly visible, a woman with unnaturally pale skin and elaborately styled hair, wearing modified shinobi attire with decorative elements resembling orb patterns. Though unfamiliar to Naruto personally, her techniques suggested advanced knowledge of forbidden jutsu. We need to sever this connection before their probe stabilizes, Naruto decided. Golden energy gathering around his hands as he prepared a sealing technique. Princess Shayla, can your song disrupt the frequency they're using to maintain contact? She nodded, shifting to a different melodic pattern, sharper, more commanding, with deliberate dissonance introduced at specific intervals. The corrupted energy responded immediately, fluctuations becoming more erratic as harmonic disruption spread through the connection. The pale woman on the other side noticed their countermeasures, her hands forming seals that Naruto recognized as advanced corruption stabilization techniques, similar to methods used to maintain cursed seals, but adapted for dimensional application. Clever adaptation, she called through the wavering connection, her voice distorted but understandable. But futile. Master Org has provided insights your primitive sealing methods cannot counter. The name confirmation validated their suspicions. Master Org had indeed established communication with forces in Naruto's world, sharing knowledge that enabled this attempted incursion. Your understanding is flawed, Naruto responded, golden energy forming complex sealing patterns around the dimensional window. Forcing connections between worlds damages both realities. Whatever Master Org promised you, he's concealing the true cost. The woman's laughter echoed eerily through the fluctuating portal. We understand the cost perfectly. Some worlds must be sacrificed for others to evolve. Your dimension's natural energy will fuel our ascension. With sudden violent motion, she thrust both hands directly into the dimensional window, purple corruption spreading from her touch like fractures in glass. The natural harmony Princess Shayla had maintained shattered under this direct assault. Animals fleeing in panic as corruption began spreading outward from the central platform. Naruto acted instantly, golden energy surging around his hands as he pressed them against the dimensional window directly opposite the corrupted intrusion. Everyone back, he commanded the Rangers. Princess Shayla, I need you to focus your song on stabilizing the wild energy in these animals. Don't let corruption spread to potential wild Zords. Without hesitation, she redirected her melodic energy, focusing on the remaining animals rather than the dimensional window itself. The effect was immediate, wildlife calming. corruption receding from their forms as her voice established protective harmonies around them. Freed to focus entirely on the dimensional threat, Naruto channeled combined Sage Chakra, Kurama's energy, and wild power through the Animarian markings that now covered much of his body. Golden light flowed along the patterns, forming a complex counter-seal that opposed the Kuru. Ption trying to breach reality's boundaries. You cannot stop evolution, the pale woman hissed, her arms now embedded to the elbows in the dimensional barrier, corruption spreading from the contact points. Your world's energy belongs to us now. You understand nothing about my world, Naruto countered, memories of everyone he'd left behind strengthening his resolve. Or the natural balance you're disrupting. Within their shared consciousness, Kurama's energy surged in response to Naruto's determination. Let me help, the fox suggested. The corruption resembles negative emotions given form, similar to what created the original tailed beasts. I can counter it directly. Naruto nodded mentally, allowing Kurama's purified chakra to flow through their combined energy network. Red gold, energy intertwined with the green gold of Sage Mode and the blue gold of Wild Energy, creating a transcendent force that directly opposed the purple corruption. The pale woman's expression shifted own confidence to concern as her corruption techniques began losing ground against this multidimensional countermeasure. What is this power? She demanded, feeling her connection weakening. No single energy form should counter specialized corruption. I'm not using a single energy form, Naruto explained calmly, golden light spreading further across the dimensional window, systematically pushing corruption back toward its source. I'm harmonizing energies from both worlds, something your corruption cannot adapt to because it relies on dissonance. Understanding dawned in her eyes moments before fear replaced it. Wait, if you sever the connection while I'm partially manifested. Naruto recognized the danger immediately, closing the dimensional window while she remained partially embedded. It would have catastrophic consequences for her physical form. Despite her hostile actions, he adjusted his technique accordingly, golden energy forming a protective bubble around her arms as he carefully extracted her presence from the dimensional barrier. Pull back now, he instructed firmly. I'm giving you one chance to withdraw safely before I seal this connection permanently. Surprise ickered across her features at this unexpected mercy, calculation quickly following as she assessed her options. After brief hesitation, she withdrew her arms from the dimensional window, corruption receding with her retreat. This isn't over, she warned, already backing away on her side of the barrier. Master Org's vision encompasses realities beyond your comprehension. Tell him the animal god sends greetings. Naruto replied evenly, and that forcing dimensions together will only ensure his destruction in both. As she disappeared from view, Naruto completed his sealing technique, not crude closure that might damage natural pathways, but careful reinforcement of natural boundaries that would prevent forced manipulation while preserving the evolutionary communication established between wildlife populations. The dimensional window contracted gradually, golden energy solidifying into a permanent seal embedded within the stone platform. The patterns resembled both Animarian script and Uzumaki spiral formulations, creating a balanced barrier that would resist corruption while allowing limited natural energy exchange. As the immediate danger passed, Naruto's transformation receded, golden armor dissolving into particles of light that were reabsorbed into his body. The effort had been considerable, but thanks to his growing understanding of the animal god's powers, he maintained consciousness and functionality rather than experiencing the exhaustion of previous transformations. Princess Shayla concluded her protective melody as the last animals departed the clearing, turning to natural behaviors but forever changed by their exposure to interdimensional wild energy. The rangers gathered around the central platform, examining the newly formed seal with mixture of curiosity and caution. You didn't close it completely, Taylor observed, noting subtle energy signatures still flowing through the reinforced barrier. I stabilized it instead, Naruto explained. His location was developing a natural connection between dimensions for legitimate evolutionary purposes. Completely severing it would damage the wildlife that had begun adapting to interdimensional communication. Princess Shayla knelt beside the small sacred waters pool, which now reflected normal sky rather than historical images. The natural thinning process will continue, but with proper safeguards against corruption. Eventually, This could become a sustainable communication point between wild energies of both dimensions. But not physical crossing, Merrick clarified, still wary of dimensional breaches. No, Naruto confirmed. I reinforced physical boundaries while allowing energy and information exchange, essentially creating a dimensional membrane rather than an open doorway. Cole looked thoughtful. So the animals here could continue developing toward wild Zord status through natural evolution rather than ceremonial transformation. Precisely, Princess Shayla smiled approvingly. In ancient times, this was how wild Zords originally formed, through natural attunement to wild energy over generations. The ceremonial methods were developed later as more direct intervention became necessary. Amy approached the sealed dimensional window, her wolves sniffing cautiously at the stone platform. Good work, she commented simply. Balance maintained. Nature decides own path, not forced by corruption. The wolf tribe perspective cut to the heart of the matter. Intervention had been necessary not to prevent change, but to ensure change proceeded according to natura. Principles rather than corrupted manipulation. As they prepared to depart, having established monitoring equipment to track the sealed connection's stability, Naruto took a final moment beside the sacred waters pool. The surface rippled briefly, showing not historical scenes but a simple reflection of his own face, now marked permanently with golden animarian script that traced his cheekbones and forehead in patterns reminiscent of his sage markings. The markings have spread to your face, Princess Shayla noted, joining him beside the pool. They follow the patterns of the seal you just created. Naruto touched the golden lines thoughtfully. My body is recording techniques as I develop them, he realized. Creating permanent channels for specific energy applications. The animal Go. D was said to carry the living library of wild knowledge, she confirmed. Each marking represents mastery of a specific aspect of wild energy. Their eyes met in the water's reflection, a moment shared understanding passing between them. Whatever Master Org and his interdimensional allies planned next, they had taken important steps today, both in securing natural boundaries and in understanding Naruto's evolving role as the animal god. The journey back to the animarium was thoughtful, each team member processing different aspects of what they had witnessed. For Princess Shayla, history, Cal revelations about Uzumaki clan connections to her world offered new research directions. For the Rangers, the potential evolution of new wild Zords through natural processes suggested expanded future capabilities. For Amy, confirmation of Wolf Tribe's ancient role as interdimensional knowledge keepers reinforced her growing integration with the team. For Naruto, the experience had been transformative in multiple ways, demonstrating growing control over his animal god powers, revealing historical connections between his clan and this world, and most significantly, providing confirmed communication with his home dimension. However limited, as they ascended through the portal back to the animarium, golden light enveloping them momentarily, he felt something he hadn't fully experienced. Since arriving in this world, hope balanced with purpose. The path forward remained challenging, but no longer seemed contradictory to his ties with Konoha. The animal god's journey continued, bridges forming where walls had stood before. Evening settled over the animarium, painting ancient stones in amber and violet. Within the temple, research continued by crystal light as Princess Shayla Karif Yuli transcribed symbols from the sealed dimensional window, comparing them with historical texts and Naruto's knowledge of Uzumaki formulations. The integration is remarkable, she observed, indicating parallel structures between writing systems. Your clan's sealing techniques and animarian wild energy manipulation developed independently yet follow identical mathematical principles. Naruto nodded, recognizing familiar patterns among the seemingly alien script. The underlying energy mechanics are the same, just expressed through different cultural frameworks. In essence, we developed errant languages to describe identical natural phenomena. Their scholarly discussion had continued for hours, periodically interrupted by rangers reporting from various monitoring stations established around the sealed window site. So far, all readings indicated stability. Natural energy continued flowing between dimensions in controlled exchange, while physical boundaries remained securely reinforced against corruption. I've been wondering, Princess Shayla began, setting aside her transcription tools, did you recognize the woman who attempted to breach the barrier? She seemed to know about Master Org specifically. I didn't recognize her personally, Naruto replied, but her techniques resembled forbidden methods developed by Orochimaru, a rogue shinobi known for experimenting with corruption and transformation. She's likely one of his associates or former test subjects who survived the war. Princess Shayla's expression showed concern. So there are others in your world with similar abilities who might attempt dimensional crossing. Possibly, he acknowledged, though true experts in dimensional theory were extremely rare even before the war decimated their numbers. More concerning is the knowledge exchange with Master Org. She was using corruption techniques that combined shinobi fundamentals with org energy patterns. The implications hung heavily between them. If Master Org continued sharing knowledge with rogue elements in Naruto's world, the resulting hybrid techniques could threaten both dimensions in ways neither was prepared to counter individually. The IR contemplation was interrupted as Taylor entered the temple, her usual confident stride slightly slowed by evident fatigue. Despite having been awake for nearly 24 hours monitoring the mountain site, she had maintained her military discipline throughout. Final readings confirm stable energy exchange patterns, she reported, joining them at the research table. Merrick will maintain overnight observation. But all indicators suggest your sealing work is holding, Naruto. Thank you, he responded sincerely. And thanks for coordinating the monitoring teams. Your tactical experience has been invaluable. Taylor accepted the compliment with a brief nod, though Naruto noticed the slight softening around her eyes that increasingly appeared when they worked together. Her initial skepticism had evolved into professional respect, particularly after witnessing his handling of the dimensional intrusion. The local wildlife is behaving normally again, she continued, though OTED several species maintaining unusual proximity to each other. The interdimensional communication seems to have created lasting behavioral changes. Natural adaptation, Princess Shayla confirmed. The animals exposed to wild energy exchange will likely develop heightened awareness over time, potentially evolving toward proto-wild Zord status within a few generations. Speaking of adaptation, Taylor turned to Naruto. That was impressive control of your animal god form today. Previous transformations seemed to drain you significantly, but you maintained full functionality afterward this time. Naruto smiled slightly. I've been working on energy efficiency. The initial transformations were essentially brute force approaches, flooding my system with wild energy without proper channeling. Now I'm developing specific pathways for controlled application. The markings help, Princess Shayla added, gesturing to the golden script now visible on Naruto's face and neck as well as his arms. Each new pattern creates optimized channels for particular energy applications. Taylor studied the markings with analytical interest. They've been spreading since you arrived. Eventually they'll cover your entire body. According to the prophecy, yes, Princess Shayla confirmed. The animal god was described as bearing the complete language of wild harmony upon living flesh. Naruto rubbed his neck somewhat self-consciously. It's not uncomfortable or restrictive. Actually, each new marking feels like opening another sensory channel, like gaining additional ways to perceive and interact with natural energy. The conversation shifted to practical matters, adjusting patrol schedules to incorporate the new dimensional monitoring requirements, developing training protocols to counter potential hybrid threats, and continuing research into the ceremonial circle that might help identify the prophesied guardians. As discussions concluded and Taylor departed to finally seek much-needed rest, Naruto and Princess Shayla found themselves alone in the temple's quiet solitude. Night had fully descended outside, moonlight streaming through crystal formations to cast rainbow patterns across ancient stone. You should rest too, Princess Shayla suggested gently. Maintaining dimensional seals requires considerable energy, even with improved efficiency. Naruto stretched, acknowledging the wisdom in her words. Probably right. Though I find it harder to sleep here than back home, the wild energy is constantly active, like background music that never quite fades. I understand completely, she replied with unexpected empathy. When I first became guardian, I couldn't sleep for months. The animarium's energy seemed to pulse through me with each heartbeat. How did you adapt? He asked curiously. A soft smile touched her lips. I stopped fighting it. Instead of trying to block out the energy to find silence, I learned to perceive it as natural rhythm, like ocean waves or heartbeats. Eventually it became comforting rather than distracting. The insight resonated with Naruto's experiences learning sage techniques. Initial training had focused on filtering sensory input to prevent overwhelming his consciousness, but true mastery came when he learned to process everything simultaneously without artificial separation. I'll try that approach, he decided. Harmony rather than isolation. Princess Shayla hesitated briefly before speaking again. There's actually a traditional Animarian melody that helps synchronize personal energy with the island's natural rhythm. It was used to help new guardians adjust during their transition period. Would you teach me? Naruto asked, genuine interest in his voice. She appeared momentarily surprised by his ready acceptance before nodding. Of course, it's quite simple, actually, designed to be accessible rather than technically complex. Moving to the open space near the sacred waters, Princess Shayla began Nging softly, a melodic pattern that seemed to capture the very essence of the Animarium's energy flow. The notes rose and fell in gentle waves, creating audible representation of natural rhythm that surrounded them constantly. Naruto listened carefully, allowing the pattern to settle into his awareness. Unlike complex jutsu that required precise hand signs and chakra control, this technique operated on simpler principles, attunement rather than manipulation, acceptance rather than command. After several repetitions, Princess Shayla gestured for him to join her. Don't worry about perfect pitch, she encouraged. The meaning lies in the pattern and intention, not technical perfection. Somewhat hesitantly at first, Naruto began following the melodic sequence, his voice lacking her trained grace but finding the essential rhythm nonetheless. As they continued together, something unexpected happened. The golden markings on his skin brightened slightly, responding to the harmonic pattern they created together. Princess Shayla noticed immediately, her eyes widening. The wild energy is responding to our combined voices, she observed without breaking the melody. This is remarkable. As they maintained the harmonized pattern, the temple crystals pulsed with responsive light, and distant wild Zord calls echoed across the Animarium, gentle acknowledgement rather than alarm, recognition rather than summoning. They concluded the melody naturally, the final notes hanging in the air with lingering resonance. For several moments afterward, neither spoke, something profound having passed between them through shared participation in ancient tradition. Thank you, Naruto said finally, genuine appreciation in his voice. I don't quite have words for it. It's different with a partner. Princess Shayla replied softly, I've always performed the guardian melodies alone. Sharing them creates an entirely different energy pattern. The admission revealed volumes about her experience, millennia of dutiful solitude, ceremonial responsibilities carried alone across centuries. Despite being surrounded by wild Zords and Rangers, her role as guardian had fundamental isolation built into its structure. Perhaps that wasn't the original intention, Naruto suggested thoughtfully. The melodies clearly respond differently to harmonized voices. Princess Shayla Kansai read this perspective with scholarly interest. The earliest texts do mention guardian circles rather than individual appointments. The solitary guardian tradition began only after Master Orb's first rise decimated Animarian civilization. Adaptations born of necessity rather than optimal design, Naruto observed. Like many traditions that outlive their original context, the insight created momentary silence between them, each contemplating implications for their respective roles. She is guardian bound by ancient traditions, he is prophesied animal god navigating unfamiliar responsibilities. It's getting late, Princess Shayla noted eventually, moonlight having shifted positions during their conversation. You should try the melody when settling for sleep. It might help with the energy adjustment you mentioned. Naruto nodded, moving toward the temple exit that led to quarters she had arranged for him within the ancient structure. At the archway, he paused, turning back toward her. Princess Shayla, he began. Uncharacteristic hesitation in his voice. Would you consider teaching me more Animarian melodies? Not just for practical applications, but to better understand this world's culture and history. The request clearly surprised her, genuine emotion briefly replacing her customary formal composure. I would be honored, she replied with warmth that transcended ceremonial politeness. The musical traditions contain insights about wild energy that formal texts often omit. Tomorrow then, he suggested with a smile. After we check the mountain site monitoring data. Tomorrow, She agreed, returning his smile with one that reached her eyes fully for perhaps the first time since his arrival. As Naruto made his way through moonlit corridors to his quarters, he found himself humming the melody they had shared, golden markings pulsing gently with each repetition. The promised harmony with animarium energy seemed already developing, his consciousness set ling into natural rhythm rather than fighting constant stimulation. Within their shared mindscape, Kurama observed these developments with thoughtful interest. "You're adapting more completely than expected," the fox noted. "Not just physically through these markings, but culturally and socially as well." "Is that concerning?" Naruto asked silently. "Not inherently," Kurama replied. "But worth noting that your connection to this world strengthens daily, while links to our original dimension remain theoretical despite today's breakthrough." The observation carried no judgment, merely perspective that Naruto acknowledged as valid. Each day brought deeper integration with animarium life, relationships with rangers and wild Zords, understanding of his role as animal god. While he maintained the hope of eventually reconnecting with Konoha, the practical reality of his existence increasingly centered on this world's needs and challenges. "Balance seems key," he concluded thoughtfully. "Hano, ring connections to both worlds without allowing divided loyalty to become paralysis." "Wise approach," Kurama agreed. "And perhaps the very essence of the animal god's purpose, bridging disparate elements without losing integrity of either." With that philosophical framework settling comfortably in his thoughts, Naruto reached his quarters, simple but comfortable accommodations featuring open ways that allowed wild Zord calls to enter unimpeded. Settling onto the sleeping mat, he hummed Princess Shayla's melody once more, feeling animarium energy shift from background distraction to soothing presence. Sleep came easier than any night since his arrival, dreams filled with harmonious melodies and golden light connecting distant worlds. Morning sunlight streamed through the temple windows as the rangers gathered for their daily briefing, energy readings from the mountain site displayed on modern equipment that contrasted sharply with ancient stone surroundings. The integration of technological monitoring systems within the historical animarium setting symbolized their overall approach, honoring tradition while embracing practical innovation. "Overnight readings show consistent stability," Merrick reported, his typically stoic demeanor betraying subtle signs of fatigue from extended monitoring duty. "The dimensional seal is maintaining integrity while allowing controlled energy exchange." Cole nodded approval. "Local wildlife continues normal behavioral patterns, though maintaining unusual proximity across species boundaries. Several deer were observed resting among wolf packs without apparent concern. The interdimensional communication has altered their perception of predator-prey relationships," Princess Shayla explained. "They're beginning to identify as cohesive guardians of the mountain region rather than competing species." Alyssa's scholarly interest was immediately engaged. "Fascinating. That's similar to how wild Zords initially formed cooperative relationships despite natural competition. We're witnessing accelerated evolution toward Proto-Zord consciousness. Which means potential new allies," Max noted optimistically. "If these animals continue developing wild energy connections, they might eventually manifest Zord capabilities. Or become targets for Ord corruption," Taylor countered pragmatically. "We need to maintain regular monitoring not just of the dimensional seal but the wildlife populations as well." Danny adjusted his glasses thoughtfully. "I've been developing modified versions of our standard monitoring equipment that could track wild energy signatures in living organisms. With some calibration, we could establish an early warning system for any corruption attempts." Naruto listened to their discussion with appreciation for the team's diverse perspectives and complementary skills. Unlike the hierarchical structure of shinobi missions, the Wild Force Rangers operated through collaborative problem-solving, each contributing specialized knowledge while respecting others' domains of expertise. "I'd like to establish a permanent shadow clone at the mountain site," he suggested when appropriate opening appeared in conversation. "Not just for monitoring, but to continue studying the dimensional mechanics of the natural thin point. Understanding how it formed might help identify other potential crossing locations." "Good idea," Cole approved immediately. "The more information we have about natural dimensional boundaries, the better prepared we'll be for future incursions." As tactical planning continued, the sacred waters rippled suddenly, drawing everyone's attention. Images formed on the surface, The harbor district of Turtle Cove shrouded in unnatural mist, purple energy signatures pulsing at irregular intervals throughout the area. Org activity, Taylor identified immediately, professional focus replacing planning mode. And based on those energy patterns, it's connected to the dimensional corruption we've been tracking. The waters shifted focus, revealing more detailed images of the disturbance, humanoid figures moving through mist with unnatural coordination, civilians fleeing in confusion, and at the center, a familiar figure directing operations. Toxica, Cole identified grimly. Master Org's sorceress. She was missing after our last major confrontation. Naruto studied the female Org with interest, noting unusual energy patterns surrounding her form, not purely Org essence, but containing elements of corrupted chakra similar to what they had encountered at previous dimensional incursion sites. She's been modified, he observed. Her energy signature shows integration of techniques from my world, likely knowledge Master Org gained through dimensional contact. Pre-NCESS Shayla's expression showed concern. Toxica was already one of the most dangerous Orgs due to her knowledge of ancient magic. If she's now incorporating corrupted chakra techniques, we need to move immediately, Cole decided. The others nodding agreement. Standard defensive formation, with Naruto providing insight on any new techniques she might deploy. As Rangers prepared for deployment, Amy approached with her wolves, amber eyes reflecting determination. Coming to, she stated simply. Wolf tribe techniques effective against corruption magic. Traditional counters. No one questioned her inclusion. Over recent weeks, she had proven herself valuable team member despite unconventional methods and communication style. Her wolf companions provided both tactical advantage in combat and specialized sensory capabilities that complemented ranger abilities. Princess Shayla turned to Naruto as preparations continued. The harbor district is where we first encountered you, she noted. Where the dimensional portal was originally created. Which can't be coincidence, he agreed. Toxica is likely attempting to access residual dimensional energy from that location, perhaps trying to re-establish connection using techniques from my world. She nodded thoughtfully. I'll remain here monitoring through the sacred waters, but please be exceptionally careful. Toxica's Knoll, DGE of ancient Org magic makes her unpredictable even without these new capabilities. We'll maintain constant communication, he assured her, creating several shadow clones that would remain on the Animarium, standard protocol they had established to ensure immediate response if danger threatened the floating sanctuary while rangers deployed elsewhere. The portal activated, a column of light NNECTING the Animarium to their destination in Turtle Cove's harbor district. As rangers morphed into their armored forms, Naruto felt the familiar resonance from his medallion, the animal god power responding to their transformation. Ready if needed but not automatically activating without specific intent. His control had improved significantly through daily practice and Princess Shayla's guidance. Rather than overwhelming transformation that depleted resources, he could now selectively channel aspects of the animal god's power, enhanced sensory perception, specific animal attributes, or TARG. TED energy application, without full manifestation. As they stepped into the transport light, descending toward whatever threat awaited below, Naruto reflected on how seamlessly he had integrated into the team's operational structure. The adjustment from solo shinobi to coordinated ranger tactics had been surprisingly natural, perhaps because both emphasized teamwork and specialized capabilities deployed for common purpose. Whatever Toxica planned at the original dimensional crossing point, they would face it together, guardians of natural order against those who would corrupt it for power. Animal God's path continued through challenge and discovery, each confrontation revealing new aspects of his evolving role in this world. Purple mist clung to abandoned warehouses and silent cranes. As they materialized in the harbor district, unnatural silence pervaded the area. No seagulls crying overhead, no distant ship horns, not even the constant background hum of city life. The dimensional disturbance had created a pocket of isolation within Turtle Cove's bustling port. Civilian evacuation complete, Taylor reported, checking readouts on her morpher. Harbor Patrol established Parame. Tear 2 blocks out when the mist appeared. No casualties reported yet. Cole nodded approval. Good. Let's keep it that way. Rangers, standard search formation. Amy, can your wolves track through this mist? The wolf tribe survivor knelt beside her companions, communing silently before responding. Yes. Mist confuses eyes, not noses. Can follow corruption scent. Naruto. Cole turned expectantly. I'll establish sensor clones at key points, he replied, immediately forming hand signs. Shadow clone jutsu. A dozen clones appeared, each immediately dispersing to predetermined positions throughout the harbor area. Through their shared sensory network, Naruto would maintain comprehensive awareness of the entire district regardless of visual limitations. The team advanced cautiously through purple-tinged fog, rangers with weapons drawn while Amy and her wolves took point, following scent trails invisible to others. Naruto extended sage perception, identifying multiple energy signa, Churish moving through the mist, some clearly org in nature, others exhibiting the now familiar hybrid pattern of corrupted chakra integrated with org essence. 12 hostiles, he reported quietly, moving in coordinated pairs, establishing perimeter around central warehouse, the same one where we closed the original portal. Makes sense, Merrick commented grimly. Residual dimensional energy would be strongest at that location. Taylor's tactical mind immediately engaged. They've established defensive formation to protect whatever Toxica is doing inside. We need to penetrate their perimeter without alerting the entire group. Divide and isolate, Naruto suggested. My clones can create distractions at multiple points simultaneously, drawing defenders away from their positions while we penetrate toward the center. Cole nodded approval. Good plan. Rangers, pair up for maximum effectiveness. Taylor with Alyssa, Danny with Max, Merrick with me. Naruto, coordinate with Amy since you're both familiar with stealth operations. The pairings made tactical sense. Complementary fighting styles and weapons combined with balanced experience levels. Naruto appreciated Cole's natural leadership style, which emphasized individual strengths while maintaining cohesive team structure. On my signal, Naruto instructed, establishing mental connection with his distributed shadow clones. 3, 2, 1. Across the harbor district, shadow clones simultaneously created diversionary incidents, small explosions, falling cargo containers, focused wind techniques that disturbed the mist in specific patterns. The effect was immediate as patrol pairs broke formation to investigate apparent intrusions from multiple directions. Now, Cole commanded, and the team moved with iced efficiency through gaps in the defensive perimeter. Naruto and Amy advanced using specialized stealth techniques, his shinobi training complemented by her wolf tribe movement patterns that seemed to flow through mist rather than displacing it. Her wolves flanked them protectively, communicating through subtle ear movements and tail positions that she translated into tactical guidance. 2 guards ahead, she whispered, indicating positions with subtle hand gestures reminiscent of Anbu signals. Not regular orgs. Smell wrong. Naruto nodded understanding, having sensed their hybrid energy signatures through sage perception. These guards exhibited the same corruption pattern as previous dimensional incursion forces, org essence modified with chakra techniques from his world. I'll take left, you right, he suggested quietly. Non-lethal takedown if possible. We need information. Amy bared teeth in wolfish agreement, signaling her companions to circle wide around their targets. The coordinated attack executed flawlessly. Naruto incapacitated his target with precise chakra point strikes that disrupted energy flow without permanent damage, while Amy and her wolves used Pack-H hunting techniques to isolate and overwhelm their opponent. Both hybrid guards secured without raising alarm, they continued toward the central warehouse. Through his clone network, Naruto monitored their ranger pairs making similar progress through the perimeter, each using specialized techniques to neutralize guards without alerting the main force. The central warehouse loomed through dissipating mist, its corroded walls still bearing marks from their previous battle to close the dimensional portal. Purple energy pulsed through these markings, suggesting Toxica was indeed attempting to harness residual dimensional pathways for new purpose. Reaching the building's perimeter, they regrouped with other ranger pairs, all reporting successful penetration without alerting central forces. Through cracks in warehouse walls, they could see Toxica directing elaborate ritual preparation inside, hybrid orgs arranging crystalline formations in patterns that combined org symbolism with what Naruto recognized as corrupted variants of chakra-focusing arrays. She's creating a modified summoning circle, he explained quietly, recognizing elements from forbidden techniques. Not trying to open full-dimensional portal, but attempting to pull specific entities across the boundary. Summoning what exactly? Max asked worriedly. Based on the configuration, something substantial, Naruto assessed grimly. The array includes stability reinforcement patterns typically used for maintaining complex physical forms during interdimensional transfer. Cole made quick tactical assessment. We need to disrupt this ritual before completion. Multiple entry points, simultaneous assault. Taylor, Max, Danny, take the loading dock entrance. Alyssa, Merrick, side access through office section. Naruto, Amy, and I will take the main entrance. Move on my signal. They positioned themselves accordingly, weapons ready as Cole counted down silently with hand gestures. At his final signal, they burst through respective entrances in perfect coordination, immediately engaging surprised hybrid guards while maintaining focus on Toxica at the center. Rangers. The sorceress hissed, her staff radiating RPLE energy as she turned from the partially completed summoning array. Right on schedule. I was wondering when you'd make your appearance. Unlike previous encounters, Toxica appeared physically anged, her form incorporating elements reminiscent of shinobi world corruption. Purplish veins traced visible patterns beneath her skin, while her eyes displayed an unnatural luminescence similar to chakra manifestation. Whatever you're attempting stops now, Toxica, Cole declared, Red Ranger armor gleaming as he brandished his crystal saber. Surrender or face destruction. Her laughter echoed, with unsettling harmonics throughout the warehouse. Destruction. You fail to comprehend what's happening, Rangers. I'm not being destroyed, I'm being perfected. With unexpected speed, she slammed her staff into the warehouse floor, sending pulses of purple energy racing through corrupted markings that covered the building's interior. The summoning array activated prematurely, crystal formations, glowing with intensifying light as dimensional energy began concentrating at the circle's center. Formation Alpha, Cole commanded, and Rangers immediately executed practiced maneuver, surrounding summoning array while maintaining defensive positions against hybrid guards who moved to protect their mistress. Naruto assessed the activated array with growing concern, recognizing components forbidden summoning techniques combined with orb corruption magic. She's creating unstable bridge, he warned the others. Not controlled portal but forced extraction. Whatever comes through will be corrupted by the transfer process itself. Can you disrupt it? Taylor called while engaging hybrid guards with her eagle sword. Not safely once activated, he replied, creating shadow clones to assist Rangers while he focused on the array itself. Improper termination could cause dimensional backlash affecting both worlds. Need to guide it to controlled completion then seal properly. Ka's triumphant laughter suggested this assessment played into her plans. Clever animal god, you understand the dilemma perfectly. Stop me and risk dimensional collapse, or allow my summoning to complete. The dimensional energy concentrated further, forming swirling vortex of purple-tinged light above the crystal array. Unlike the natural window they had encountered at the mountain site, this orked connection tore roughly through reality's fabric, creating visible fractures in surrounding space. Naruto felt his medallion pulse in response to this unnatural disruption, golden energy flowing through animarian markings across his skin. The wild Zords were responding to threat against natural order, their collective power offering support through their established connection. Animal God access. The transformation came smoothly now, golden light enveloping him as ceremonial armor formed, each component representing different wild Zord aspects united in harmonious whole. In this form, his perception expanded beyond normal limitations, allowing clear visualization of dimensional mechanics governing Toxica's corrupted summoning. It's already locked onto target, he informed the Rangers. Voice carrying harmonic overtones in transformed state. Attempting to summon specific entity from my world, someone with unique chakra signature. Toxica raised her staff triumphantly. Master, Org's knowledge extends beyond your comprehension, animal god. We've identified the perfect addition to our forces, one whose power rivals your own. The dimensional vortex expanded suddenly, its diameter doubling as something began pushing through from the other side. Unlike the mountain site's natural thinning, This forced connection created visible distortions throughout the warehouse, gravity fluctuating erratically. Time flowing inconsistently between different sections, temperature varying wildly from freezing to scorching within feet. Everyone back, Naruto commanded, recognizing imminent dimensional breach. Maintain perimeter but increase distance from the array. Rangers complied immediately, disengaging from hybrid guards to establish defensive formation at safer distance. Mai and her wolves positioned themselves strategically to intercept anything emerging from the vortex, while Naruto approached the array directly, golden energy forming protective barrier around him. With violent concussion that shattered nearby windows, the dimensional barrier ruptured completely. Purple gold energy erupted from the vortex's center, temporarily blinding everyone in the warehouse. As visibility returned, a human figure could be seen kneeling within the summoning array, female form with distinctive long red hair cascading around slender shoulders. Naruto's transformed state faltered momentarily, golden armor flickering as shock disrupted his concentration. Impossible, he whispered, recognition dawning immediately despite never having seen this particular person in adult form except in photographs. The summoned woman rose slowly, disorientation evident in her movements as she surveyed unfamiliar surroundings. She appeared to be in her early 20s, approximately Naruto's current age, clad in modified Jonin attire featuring distinctive patterns that identified her clan affiliation. Most striking were her eyes, violet irises currently widened in confusion and defensive readiness. "Where am I?" she demanded, voice carrying authority despite evident disorientation. "What kind of summoning technique is this?" Toxica approached confidently, her staff directed toward the newcomer. "Welcome to our dimension, Kushina Uzumaki. Your power will serve Master Org's vision perfectly once properly aligned with our purpose." The name confirmation sent shockwaves through Naruto's consciousness, momentarily disrupting even Kurama's typically unflappable presence. How is this possible? The fox wondered within their shared mindscape. "She died sealing me within you. This cannot be your actual mother." Dimensional variant, Naruto realized, understanding dawning. "Not my mother from our timeline, but Kushina from alternate dimension or timeline where events unfolded differently." The red-haired woman, unmistakably Kushina Uzumaki despite timeline differences, responded to Toxica's presumption with characteristic Uzumaki temperament. Golden chakra chains erupted from her back, lashing outward with precision to create protective perimeter around herself while simultaneously striking toward the sorceress. "I serve no one, especially not some purple-veined Freak who drags people across dimensions without permission." Her fierce declaration carried echoes of the personality Naruto had briefly encountered during the war when her chakra imprint had manifested within his seal. Toxica barely evaded the chakra chains, surprise evident in her reaction to this unexpected resistance. "Your cooperation wasn't requested," she snarled, purple corruption flowing from her staff toward Kushina. "Your power will serve regardless of your wishes." The corruption met unexpected barrier as Naruto moved with blinding speed, positioning himself between Toxica and Kushina. Golden energy from his transformed state neutralized the corruption instantly, creating bright flash where opposing forces met. "Rangers, contain the hybrid guards," he commanded without taking eyes off Toxica. "I'll handle the dimensional aspects." Cole immediately organized tactical response, Rangers engaging remaining enemies with renewed purpose. Amy and her wolves established protective perimeter around the summoning array, preventing further interference with the dimensional tear that remained active despite Kushina's successful crossing. Kushina stared at Naruto's transformed state with obvious confusion, taking in the golden armor with its animal aspects and the visible markings on exposed portions of his face. "Who are you?" she demanded, chakra chains still hovering defensively. "You feel familiar somehow." "We'll discuss that once you're safe," Naruto replied, deliberately avoiding immediate revelation of their connection. In transformed state, with golden armor and modified facial features, she wouldn't easily recognize him as her son, particularly since this variant clearly hadn't experienced motherhood yet. Toxica's laughter interrupted their exchange. "Oh, this is rich. She doesn't even recognize her own son. Master Org's interdimensional extraction is even more perfect than anticipated." The revelation hit Kushina visibly, her violet eyes widening as she studied Naruto more carefully. "My son, I don't have children." I'm only 22. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.